always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to...
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say...
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Morning to you, whoever you're watching, whoever you're listening, you're very welcome. The Home Secretary launches an urgent review into what she calls serious information failures over the Alaa Abdel Fattah case.
She says neither she nor the Prime Minister were told about his historic tweets, comments they now describe as abhorrent.
Despite that, Downing Street says he is still welcome in Britain, and that's triggered a furious backlash.
And all this as Al Fattah apologises, while his Facebook account likes a post suggesting that he is the target of a Zionist campaign.
British heavyweight boxer Anthony Joshua has been injured in a car crash in Nigeria. It killed 2 members of his team. We'll bring you the latest throughout the morning.
The Cabinet Office has been accused of covering up for the royal family after it emerged that official papers, which refer to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, have been withheld from the National Archives.
The good things are happening in the Middle East. We have peace in the Middle East, and we're going to try and keep it that way. I think we will be very...
Gaza reconstruction, President Trump says it will begin very soon after talks with the Israeli Prime Minister, but he refused to clarify if Israel would withdraw from the Strip as part of the required steps in the peace plan.
Actor Idris Elba, ice dancers Jane Torval and Christopher Dean, and England's women football and rugby teams are amongst more than 1,000 people recognised in the New Year's honours list.
It's a crisp but largely fine day for many of us today. Will the dry weather last until the end of the year? Well, stick around and find out.
Hello there, a very good morning to you. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Penny Smith, and this is GB News Breakfast.
I'm looking through the New Year's honours. I don't see any Penny Smith there.
Oh, I
It's a
don't think that's
disgrace.
going to happen. Listen, I think the problem is that I don't really do very much, apart from yesterday. I spent about 4 hours trying to find a ridiculous thing that I bought for a 3-year-old.
What was that?
Well, it's a small knitted mouse, which I bought, and which I for 2 months I've had it in the flat, waiting to go today to be handed over to the 3-year-old. And the thing is, the bloke and I have been doing really stupid things and having it hiding behind things and everything else. So I tried to look for it. And we can't find it. Can't find it anywhere. I just went, well,
There's a moose in the house.
When did we last see this knitted mouse with a hat and a cape on? And I just went, I can't remember. You hid it in the laundry basket. Then it was behind that. And then it was behind. And then didn't you put it in the between the? And then we can't find it anywhere.
If you spot a mouse with a hat and a cape, you know, it could be Penny's.
It's mine.
Please do let us know this
Do you
morning.
know what? It might have gone on a walk. You're right. It might have actually gone off and wandered off on its own.
Like those, what are they called?
I don't know, animated figures?
No, the elf
The elf on
things.
the shelf.
Elf on the shelf
Do
things.
you know what? That's it. It's the mouse in the house.
Yeah. OK, or not in the house, whatever. Well, the Home Secretary has launched an urgent review into what she calls serious information failures in the Alaa Abdel Fattah case.
Yvette Cooper says neither she nor the Prime Minister were told about historic online posts described now by the government as abhorrent.
Well, that's despite Downing Street saying just yesterday that it welcomed the return of Mr El Fattah as a British citizen. It said he had been unfairly detained abroad.
Well, last night, the controversial activist pushed back and claimed that he is the victim of a so-called Zionist campaign after his verified Facebook account appeared to like a post making that allegation.
Let's get the views now of Theo Usherwood on all of this one. Well, where do we go from here, Theo?
Well, Number 10 isn't backing down. Clearly, because yesterday, and I was a bit surprised because I work just upstairs at Press Association and as one of the news editors there. And when the comments landed, and we see them coming in from our correspondents in the lobby, which is the Prime Minister's briefing, and he only has one. There's only one a week during the recesses, and these comments landed, and we looked. Well, I certainly looked at them and thought that I was struck by the fact that the Prime Minister clearly wasn't going to. Wasn't giving way on this one. Yes, the comments he said, were abhorrent, but in terms of whether this man was going to be be stripped of his citizenship and deported, clearly that isn't the line that the government is going to take. And the comment was that now that from the government's point of view, they're welcoming him back as they would for somebody who's been unfairly detained, as they would in all cases. And that's not something that's not the comments of somebody or a government that is in any mind to give way on this one.
I think that many people will find it absolutely staggering because this will not sit well. We have this problem with anti-Semitism in this country. It has been getting worse. And here we have somebody who has said these things, has apologised, and yet likes a Facebook post saying that actually the Zionists are out to get him.
Yes, it strikes. This is a story on the front page of the Daily Telegraph. Is it an apology? Is it really an apology if at the same time as the Telegraph is reporting, you're liking a post saying that Zionist journalists or Jewish communities are out to get you?
Can I stop you two right there? And we talked about this yesterday.
We did yesterday.
Which is, what is a Zionist, right? Are we talking about just somebody who is a Jew, somebody who is from Israel, born in Israel, or what exactly is a Zionist?
So I think the term Zionist is, from my understanding, is when it's used, it's that those who believe in a Jewish state of Israel, and the Jewish state of Israel came out of the Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews were brutally murdered by the Nazi regime, and it is those who believe that the Jewish people have a right to self-determination and their own sovereign state in the state of Israel, they would call themselves Zionists. And the problem, I think, with the term is that it is used by detractors of Israel or anti-Semites to say, well, actually, instead of using the word Jew, we're going to use the word Zionist, and therefore it's okay.
Yeah, it sounds derogatory, doesn't it?
It sounds derogatory. It's used in a derogatory term, and it's used as a substitute for words such as for the word Jew in order to target Jewish people. And you'd have to ask the question, and this is the question I know Jewish communities ask, is what's wrong with the Jewish people having their own state?
They've been
persecuted. What is the problem, just specifically with the Jewish people having their own state, when you're not marching up and down the streets of London or in Birmingham or in any other city in the UK for the Uyghur Muslims, for example? You're not marching for what's happening in Sudan. You're just marching against this particular state. And I think that's where the Jewish community feel that they are, I think, fairly justifiably being targeted.
And also, if it is right. It's a weirdly grey area, because we were looking it up yesterday, Zionists and Jews, and and it does seem that if you replace the word Zionist with Jews out to get me, that would be anti-Semitic. Yeah. But you can just about say Zionist.
But if you're saying Zionist, then you're questioning the right to an Israeli state. And therefore, but that is seen by detractors of Israel as being perfectly legitimate.
Yeah.
Theo, could I look at the New Year's honours, and the Prime Minister seems very positive about these, very upbeat about these. Any controversial appointments, any political things that need highlighting?
No, I was struck, 1,000 people have been in this New Year's honours list. I mean, you've got the likes of Sir Idris Elba now, who's on the
front page.
He's on the front pages. I think the honours list provides an opportunity for prime ministers, not just this one, to try and strike a positive tone, particularly around Christmas. Jane Torval and Christopher Dean, I think that's welcome as well.
A shoe-in. They're going to be it's Dame. I think it's going to be Dame and Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, Torval and Dean.
So it's a positive news story. I didn't think there was anybody in there that was particularly
controversial. At the BBC.
Sorry,
Charlotte Moore at the BBC. She was the top BBC executive, and just everything that's going on at the BBC at the minute.
She hasn't been implicated, though, has she, in what's happened with...
Well, we'll look into that when you next go back.
At this point, can we just gaze in admiration at a photograph that has just come out of the archive? Let's just have a look at this photograph. Oh, look. That looks like Eamonn, Holmes and the late Queen Elizabeth II.
What year was that? What year did you get your...
That was about 7 years ago.
And you got an OBE?
Yeah.
That's what was the day like?
2018.
It was very, very... it was a great honour to be given it by the Queen, for instance, and to wait and do that. But also, I mean, I knew what mine was for. Mine was for the people of Northern Ireland. Yeah. And I knew the certain things that I'd done very young in my life in Northern Ireland, and getting that recognition for that point of view. So I was personally very proud of it. But it's a very divisive thing, Theo. Not everybody's happy.
But did you have a conversation in that photograph? Did you have a conversation with him?
Yeah.
What did she say?
Are you allowed to say what she said?
Come on. Yeah. You have, you're given about 2 minutes with her, right? Yeah. And she will take your hand, she will pin the medal on you, take your hand, shake your hand, and then you're told when she's finished talking to you, she will push back with her hand. So I arrived in and I said to her, she said to me, you must have interviewed an awful lot of people in your time. Yeah. And I said, I have, Mum. I said, in fact, I've interviewed everyone in your family with one exception. She said, really? Who's that? I said, you, Mum.
Yeah.
You. And she went, oh. And I said, but we could fix that now, because we've got a camera crew just at the end of the stage there, and there's only 6 more people after me, so you could shuffle off there and we could talk about today and what it was like. And she just, bear in mind, I have 2 minutes, and she went, and just pushed my hand straight back. So it was like basically saying, can someone get rid of this mad Irishman here? And that was it. But delightful, lovely day for everybody involved, and congratulations to everybody who has picked up a medal. The only thing I always thought, my uncle Tommy Bell, was a deep-sea diver for the Royal Navy in the Second World War, and he defused limpet mines. And there was a lot of pressure on that to do that. And he got the BEM, which is the lowest honour you can get, the British Empire Medal. Recognition, but a very low honour. And I thought I got the OBE, which is like 4 higher so than him. And I never feel worthy of that. I always thought, you know, for what he did, and he gets the BEM, and then I get the OBE.
But it was also, but it was a generational thing. Yeah. What your uncle did and what my grandfather did, you know, in the war, you know, there were so many of that whole generation, and they gave their lives and subsequently. That you know.
Well, as I say, congratulations to everybody who has got one. We're going to be talking about that throughout the programme, and interested to hear what you have to say. Theo, for the moment, thank you very much indeed. If you've got anything to say about what Theo's had to say, have your say, and we will reflect that throughout the programme.
12 minutes past 6 is the time. Yesterday, President Trump welcomed Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, to his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida.
Well, following the talks that they had, the US President said reconstruction in Gaza would begin very soon, but he declined to say whether Israel would withdraw from the territory.
During the visit, the Israeli Prime Minister announced he intends to award President Trump Israel's prize, the country's highest civilian honour.
Well, join us now, spokesperson for Republicans overseas. We say hello, good morning, and welcome to Jennifer Ewing. Jennifer, very nice to have you here. How do you think these talks... Good, not at all, any time. How do you think these talks went yesterday?
You know, it's interesting, the timing of these talks, which is the day after, as I'm sure you guys will be aware of, when President Trump hosted President Zelensky yesterday. So there's a feeling in the U.S. that he did these back-to-back meetings, and indeed in his, you know, home of Mar-a-Lago, to kind of hope that he can get things moving along and move more towards peace before the new year starts. He, you know, is a president who ran on peace. That's what he wants. And he's got these two rather big issues that a lot of people are not happy, quite frankly, that the U.S. is still involved with. So how do I think these talks went? Well, it's not been really splashed. I mean, it's still today in the U.S. I happen to be in California for a few weeks, so we're 8 hours behind you guys. But there's not as much on the news as you'd expect there to be, considering it was such a big meeting. We know that the president said, I think we've come to a lot of conclusions, but there was not a lot of detail, as you kind of alluded to you know, what some of these conclusions would be. One, who's going to disarm Hamas? And then number two, you know, when will this phase to start? So there's a kind of more questions that have been left unanswered rather than answered.
Yes, because disarming Hamas needs to start before they start the rebuilding, because otherwise, you know, we could see the destruction happening all over again.
No, you're exactly right. And, you know, there's talk like, is it the Turks? Is it the Qataris? You know, who exactly is doing this? So, and then, of course, there's one hostage still left, you know, and, you know, the Israelis, of course, and the world would like, you know, that person to be returned. So there's a lot of unanswered questions. There was kind of a lot of platitudes. You mentioned earlier, a couple minutes ago, that Netanyahu had awarded Trump a special prize, a special honor, which is great. But quite frankly, the last 2 days look like there's, you know, two different world leaders that have come to the White House to come to Mar-a-Lago, White House in Palm Beach, and, you know, asking the United States to get more heavily involved in their conflicts.
Do you think, Jennifer, that the situation in the Middle East and Palestine and Gaza has in any way taken second place to what we're experiencing now between Ukraine and Russia and Trump's attention?
You know, that's a great question. And depending on who you ask, like, and I cannot emphasize enough the different way in which the Russia-Ukraine situation plays in the US. It is not all over the news. It is not seen as even a top 10 issue right now. And part of that is because we're just further away, right? Whereas when I'm sitting in London, you know, people are talking about it a lot more. Now, is the Gaza situation taking second place? No, I'd actually say that if you were to say, which is sort of more important, more Americans would look to the Gaza-Israel as being more important. But having said that, you'll recall about 3 or 4 months ago, we had some off-schedule elections here in the U.S. The Republicans did not do very well. And a lot of the reason for that, when they polled voters, they came out and basically said, in addition to cost of living problems, was that they did not feel that the Republicans, and indeed the president, was concentrating on America First issues, that he was spending too much time on foreign policy. So that's why I go back to what I said, you know, in the very beginning, that I'm wondering if there's a part of him that's trying to, you know, get these things on their way and, you know, as he said, hand Russia, Ukraine back to the Europeans and
you know,
indeed,
Jennifer,
whoever's going to...
It's interesting that you raise that point, because we often talk on this programme, is that the same in the UK? Do people in Britain think, all very unfortunate what's going on in Ukraine and what's going on in Gaza, but we've got our own problems here, and people often cannot see past their own problems.
Except, Jennifer, I mean, the point is that America has been traditionally very close to Israel, and also Russia is close to American soil in Alaska. So, I mean, they are really, in many ways, and with Britain, for example, you know, we're aware of how close Russia, you know, if Putin wants... What he wants, of course, is the old USSR back, we assume, which means, again, we're very close to getting closer to us again because of you know, where they are in Europe.
Sure, and it's funny. There was if you recall, Sarah Palin, you know, who is John McCain's running mate, you know, said, "I can see Russia from my yard in Alaska."
Exactly, in Alaska,
exactly. But on a serious note, I think with the president, you know, what a lot of people call him the deal maker in chief, I think what he's looking towards is normalizing economic relations with Russia again, starting to do deals with Russia again, and indeed, once things get cleaned up in Ukraine, you know, starting to rebuild Ukraine. You know, he's even saying the same things about Gaza. So this is a man, I think, who is he's like, he wants the killing to stop on all sides, and he wants to see people in all of these countries, you know, being, you know, not only having peace, but having prosperity. And I think that's what motivates him. So he's not looking at this as, oh, Russia can come after us next. He's looking at this, which of course will appear to Vladimir Putin as, all right, let's start, you know, once we get this settled, we can start doing business again. I mean, you know, that's...
Doing deals, and that was what, Jennifer, thank you very much, because that's the point, as we were talking about yesterday, saying about the art of the deal.
Jennifer is from Republicans Overseas. Always very good to talk to her. Let's get your weather update now. We say hello, good morning to Alex Burkle.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, this is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. For many, it's going to be a fine day. Lots of dry, sunny weather around. Just a few showers pushing into some eastern parts. Otherwise, like I said, yes, it is going to stay mostly dry. We have had a cold front pushing through overnight, and that's actually helped clear away some of the clouds. So for many, it is going to be brighter. It's going to be sunnier than it was yesterday. But with that colder air that's come in behind that cold front, temperatures are going to be slightly lower, so a little bit below average for the time of year, generally peaking low single figures in the north, mid single figures towards the south. A bit of a breeze, particularly towards the east. That's going to add to the chilly feel to things. Now, as we go through towards this evening, there could be a few spots of showery rain affecting parts of Orkney and more so Shetland. Otherwise, across the rest of Scotland, it's looking dry. There'll be some clear skies as we go into the start of the night for most places here, and similar across parts of Northern Ireland. As a result, we're quickly going to see a bit of frost developing. Meanwhile, across much of England and Wales, a bit of cloud here and there, still a few showers towards some eastern coastal parts. Most places, though, ending the day on the same dry note that we'll have had through much of the day. Overnight, with a lot of dry, calm, clear weather, we are going to see temperatures plummeting. A fairly widespread frost across most parts, perhaps towards the east-southeast of England, a bit more cloud, maybe some fog here, so less frosty, but for most places, it is going to be a chilly, frosty start to the day on New Year's Eve. Then through New Year's Eve itself, well, again, lots of fine sunny weather around, and it stays fine across southern parts through much of the day and into the evening. Further north, a slightly different story. There will be some showery rain feeding its way further southwards, and this could turn a bit wintry, some sleet or snow likely over higher ground, and more wet and at times windy weather to come as we go into New Year's Day across northern parts of Scotland.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, look, we're going to be taking you through the highs and lows of the royal families here.
We are.
Next, we're going to be doing that. And there's a lot to talk about, a lot to cram in, and indeed a news angle on that this morning, which will bring you right after this short break. Hope you can join us. Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family and things to talk about with them. They've had their ups and downs during the past year, and GB News has been there every step of the way, it has to be said, because you are fascinated with them. You absolutely enjoy hearing about them, and you have your opinions about them.
Our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker, is looking back on the House of Windsor's turbulent year.
2025, a year of resilience, reckoning and reconciliation for the House of Windsor. The year began under the shadow of health concerns. The King, diagnosed with cancer in early 2024, shared an uplifting message in December 2025. His treatment schedule would be reduced in the new year. moving into a precautionary phase. Early detection and effective care were praised as he delivered a poignant message for Stand Up to Cancer.
This milestone is both a personal blessing and a testimony to the remarkable advances that have been made in cancer care in recent years.
Meanwhile, the Princess of Wales announced her remission in January after completing chemotherapy in September 24. Now she's reclaimed her public role, confidently hosting world leaders, making surprise visits, and delivering speeches to promote the importance of early childhood development.
Every child deserves respect and safety, and everyone who cares deserves recognition and appreciation.
Prince William took to the global stage in November, embarking on a 5-day visit to Brazil to focus on finding solutions to repair the planet. He hosted his Earthshot Prize in Rio de Janeiro, met indigenous leaders in the Amazon, and posed for selfies with crowds. William also recreated an image of the iconic Christ the Redeemer, posing like his mother did 30 years ago. He also represented the United Kingdom at the COP Climate Conference alongside the Prime Minister. Prince Harry reunited with his father in September, their first face-to-face meeting in 19 months. The 53-minute meeting at Clarence House and a leaked meeting with aides suggest reconciliation is back on the table. But security remains a challenge. Harry's won a government review of his UK security arrangements amid ongoing battles for protection during visits.
The King has stripped Prince Andrew of all his royal titles and kicked him out of Royal Lodge.
The year brought further downfall for Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. This due to renewed scrutiny over Jeffrey Epstein ties and the revelation he'd been paying peppercorn rents for the mansion. Andrew's expected to move to a property on the private Sandringham estate, funded by his brother in the new year. Royal soft power dominated September, flattering President Trump during an unprecedented second state visit. The event, held at both Windsor Castle and Chequers, featured carriage processions, a banquet, and meetings with the Prime Minister. Protests in London and Windsor didn't seem to faze the president. The 80th anniversary of VE Day and VJ Day were also commemorated, sparking this viral moment between royal brothers, where Louis teased his sibling George. The royal diary is already filling up for 2026, with several international visits planned. Cameron Walker, GB News.
Thank you, Cameron. And your royal memories of the year, very, very welcome. There's a story we're going to be covering later in the programme today, which are about missing files relating to the former Prince Andrew. The time, 28 minutes past the hour, and it's time for the Great British Giveaway. Have a go.
We want to make the new year your best year yet, with a chance to win our greatest cash prize to date. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to splash on anything you can dream of. Treat the family to that bucket list holiday you've always fancied. Get your dream car you've always wanted. Or just relax, safe in the knowledge that the coming year is on us. £85,000 is the biggest cash prize we've ever given away. It's totally tax-free, which means that every single penny of it will be yours. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now, just to let you know that in the back half hour of the show, as it were, we're going to be looking in detail at lots of really good stories in the newspaper. So we're going to be doing that. And time now, though. Time is 6:30. It's time for our daily reflection.
The GB News 12 Days of Christmas. Day 6.
Welcome to St Andrew's Parish in Wimbledon, where I serve as the vicar.
Who would you expect to get front row seats when a VIP comes into town? At Jeff Bezos' wedding in the summer, there were 200 celebrities flown in on over 90 private jets. Christians believe that first Christmas was God coming into the world, the ultimate VIP royal event. Who would get front row seats then? Wasn't emperors or princes or celebrities, but it was rough working class shepherds who were the first to hear what the angel had to say. In today's world, they wouldn't even get through security for a VIP party. But here the angel says to them, I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Today in the town of David, a Saviour has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. It's an amazing thought that even still today, all over the world, people from different backgrounds, outsiders like those shepherds, have come to find that this Jesus is good news that brings great joy for all people. It's been my experience as people meet him as Messiah, Saviour, Lord, they too can experience that wonder that the shepherds experienced on the starry night in Bethlehem.
Here's the thing, actually, we're saying Merry Christmas. When is it? I was saying Merry Christmas gaily yesterday, and there was this pause while everybody went, I mean, is it okay to still... When do we stop saying Merry Christmas?
I say at this time,
Until...
compliments of the season.
Look at you, hedging your bets. Right, yeah, no, excellent,
No,
well done. But Merry Christmas is much quicker. Still to come, the BBC boss handed an OBE despite being blamed for the discredited Gaza film. Got our panel, Eamonn Bogle and Chloe Dobb, joining us to discuss all of that and more. There they are, doing a last-minute bit of swatting. Traffic and travel update now, though.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A1 southbound Abbotsview off-slip remains closed due to ongoing essential overnight maintenance. In Oxfordshire, a broken-down vehicle on the southbound A34 between the M40 and A44 has led to one-lane closure. Kent's M20 westbound faces a collision between Junction 3 and Junction 1, causing delays of 20 minutes. For train travellers, Avanti West Coast is conducting significant engineering work between Milton Keynes Central and Rugby. Meanwhile, Cross Country has major work disruptions in the Cambridge area. Stay up to date at gbnews.com. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We've got Eamonn Bogle and Chloe Dobbs in the studio today, and we are delighted to have them because I know we're going to get a nice mixture of stories for them to discuss. The only thing is, Eamonn, as we start off here, and here we are in this season, and Penny and I were talking about what do you say, what time of the year, and whatever, and in this country and America, there's this terrible fear, oh my God, the guy with the turbans in the studio, we better not mention Christmas. Now, can we mention Christmas to you? What's your take on it?
Well, a very Merry Christmas to you, Eamonn. There you go.
Well, Merry Christmas to you, my friend.
Well, look, I think the vast majority of British Indians living in the UK celebrate Christmas in a very Indian way. And that's the sign of integration into British culture, into this. Look, Britain is a Christian nation, full stop. And my dharma teaches me to stand by what is right. And what is right is that this is a Christian nation, and this is Christian heritage, Christian traditions, and you must integrate and celebrate them with the rest of the population. I mean, as a child, I was in the choir. So every Christmas, you know, we had at least 4 rounds to the local church in Bexley Village, and we'd go and sing a lot of carols and hymns.
Yeah. And what about Christmas Day then? How do you celebrate Christmas Day? Do you have a turkey? Oh no, you don't have a turkey.
Exactly, as vegetarians. But so we've integrated this very traditional Indian wintry cuisine, which traditionally doesn't have sprouts. So sprouts is the contribution to integration, putting it into the spinach and the greens, and of course a pudding which is made out of carrots. So it's a very traditional.
So it's okay, but sort of what's not traditional is to call this the holiday, or
absolutely. These are not happy holidays. These are not season's greetings. It is Merry Christmas.
There we go, Eamonn. Merry Christmas.
I know we see them call them evergreen trees in the supermarkets now. It seems like it's almost a dirty word to say Christmas now.
That's an interesting point.
I've also seen all of these. I think that's absolutely great that you integrated and you celebrate Christmas and you'll happily say Happy Christmas to people. But I've seen all these videos online of people telling Muslims, oh, don't you dare wish a happy Christmas to anybody, that's haram, don't get involved in any Christmas celebrations, it's a sin to do so. And I think that's why we've got that sort of integration in this country.
Anybody's celebrations, it's like St Patrick's Day, everybody becomes Irish on the 17th of March, and who objects to that? They say you're celebrating us, you're celebrating who we are as Irish people, come on into the parlour, come on, be part of it all. And
the word community.
Yeah, community.
Communities are built by saying, these are our traditions, you're welcome to take what you want.
Exactly. And you know what, if this country has allowed for Diwali, which is one of our greatest festivals in the Indian community.
Festival of Light.
Festival of Lights. Festival of, the victory of light over darkness and all the rest of it. If this country has been so great and allowing to have us that, the Prime Minister of the country celebrates it every year at number 10, be it a Conservative government or Labour government, and dare I say a future Reform government, they'll all celebrate it at number 10, and there's no higher honour than that it gets celebrated. And even the King, celebrates it within the royal family. So if Diwali can have a place in Britain, then surely, our Christian Christmas traditions must take form.
Okay, well, that's what Emann's had to say. Please do have your say, and we'll reflect that throughout the programme on radio, on television and online. Chloe, just this Anthony Joshua situation, I mean, it's a developing story as to, 2 people have passed away during this car accident. He's injured, we're not sure to what degree. It's front page of many of the papers.
Yeah, this is absolutely horrifying, and he is so lucky to be alive. I'm sure he's in a absolute state of shock because he's lost two really close members of his team and close friends in that crash. And I mean, it shows it can happen to anybody, these scary situations. If you're some sort of celebrity, it doesn't make you immune to this. And you know, I hope that he has a speedy recovery from what is a really terrifying incident in Nigeria. He lived there until he was 12 years old. He's gone back for a holiday. And it's
and it shows the fragility of life again, because 2 weeks ago he's top of the world, he's made himself a lot of money, and then
that huge fight with Jake Paul.
Yeah, he nearly loses his life.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really terrifying. And Eddie Hearn, of course, has come out and given updates to people on this and is very horrified by it. And I'm sure what will happen after this is he'll look at life completely differently. When you're put in that situation where you come really close to death, it makes you so much more grateful just to be alive every single day.
Although, you know, we're talking about physical injuries and mental scars, I think, as well, because that's the other issue when you've got something like this.
Yeah, I'm sure this will stick with him for life.
Yeah. The other story, which is on the front page of the papers, Eamonn, is the Daily Telegraph. The headline that we were talking about this a bit earlier. The headline is "Zionists out to get me," claims extremists. This is the Allah Abdel Fattah and the calls which are being resisted by the government for him to be stripped of his British citizenship and deported over these historical posts.
Indeed, and I think, you know, this is a real indictment of how Britain has been a soft touch for the world's assorted extremists and terrorists. They all seem to end up finding exile and refuge in Britain. If you look at some of the Islamist terrorists, years gone past, right? Egyptian, Pakistani, from Syria. Somehow they all end up being given asylum in the UK. And let's be honest, you know, you hate Britain, you hate Britons, you hate our British way of life, and yet you want our British passport. It doesn't make any sense.
But he's saying he used to. He's saying this was a long time ago.
Yes, but he's still liking Facebook posts claiming that this is all a Zionist conspiracy. I don't think the man has changed. And let's be honest, he was putting out all this stuff when he was in his 30s, not when he was a young teenager.
Well, man, what would you do with him? I mean, he served a prison sentence in Egypt. Can he go back to Egypt? And if he doesn't go to Egypt, where does he go?
Well, he should never have been brought back from Egypt. He is Egypt's problem. He does not belong in the UK.
But he does have a British... I think legally, though, it would be quite difficult to deport him because he legally does have a British passport.
He does, but on the contrary, the British Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, and as Nigel Farage has written to her yesterday, she has the authority to revoke his British passport and deport him back to Egypt. The Egyptians obviously don't want him because they understand what an extremist this person is. But that's the only thing that should happen. But let's be honest, you know, we've seen Starmer. Right, now he says that, oh, I didn't know anything about this. Suddenly he's gone from Mr. Forensic to Mr. Eyes Closed. I mean, how does that work? And same applies to so many of our parliamentarians who batted for this guy. And again, same with Muhammad Yunus in Bangladesh, right? He's had this coup against the elected Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, and yet he's been lauded in Western circles as this bringer of peace and all the things good.
Just some of the stories so far that we're going to touch on. Lots more to come after the break, while we bring you the holiday sun, where it is and if you're going to benefit from it.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst there's plenty of dry and bright weather across the UK at the moment, it's a different story around southern Europe. There's some rain sweeping its way towards Madeira and towards the Canary Islands through the next couple of days. It's wet across southern parts of Spain and northern Morocco. Some thundery rain likely again as we go through later this week. And further east, also some outbreaks of rain affecting parts of Greece and towards Cyprus. And some of these could be heavy and thundery at times. More changeable weather to come as we head into the new year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Patrick Christie's Tonight. Weekdays from 9 p.m.
You that every one of those tickets will be sold. Guaranteed.
I guess they
because
will.
There'll be corporate ticket, you know, that's the thing. So there'll be corporate organisations that buy the tickets en masse. Is that the ticket price from FIFA for the game, or is that the up ticket?
That's the legit price.
Yeah,
that's before the scalping happens. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The cheapest tickets for the final in the USA now cost more than £3,000.
But then if you look at Wimbledon, how much Wimbledon is for a final, it's just absolutely extreme. And, you know, so you are completely knocking out the mainstream fan, and just you've got the elite.
I mean, it's a bit of a contrast to Qatar, where the prices weren't that high. Obviously, a bit tricky to, you know, not cheap to get there, but not cheap to get to the States either. But obviously, for Qatar, it was about putting yourself on the world sporting map and using its diplomacy. Whereas in the States, it's about making the dollar.
Well, I can also just say that they've got the Pride match that's going to be played at the World Cup. It's in Seattle, and it's against it's Iran versus Egypt.
So both of them have asked for it not to be the Pride match.
Both of them have asked not to be. But the only other game in that group that they could use as the Pride match is the USA versus Australia, and they can't because that's also their dedicated anti-slavery match. Yeah, so it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Are any of them themed around
Can't they swap them round?
well, still, that doesn't work, does it? Because of the other two nations.
Yeah, I think that's worse.
Like Iran, I don't know, they're still a bit slavey, aren't they?
Can't they just play football?
Modern slavery is an issue across the world.
Yeah. But I just I don't know, it just cracks me up. Like, why? So we've got. Why are we doing any of this?
It should just be...
But also then stop, if you care so much about these issues, stop giving World Cups. Like in 2036, it's in Saudi Arabia, which does have modern slavery and kills gay people.
GB News, the People's Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
We're having lots of chat here during the commercial breaks with Eamonn and Chloe about stories that are interesting us and that are interested in the newspapers as well. And we want to begin with you've seen a story about the Sussexes.
This is a story which is well, it's on the front page of the Mail, and this is what they say is an exclusive, and it says, "Now the Sussexes' most loyal aide leaves too, so can their charity survive?" Chloe, you've been looking at this.
Yes, it has been absolute chaos for, well, years now. I mean, since the very beginning when they left and went to America with their team of staff. They can't seem to get together a team that actually stays in place. And the number of people leaving, of course, when they leave, we just hear a nice statement from both sides. But the number of departures starts to suggest that maybe they could be quite difficult people to work with. You do have to look towards the bosses when you see lots of staff leaving. And this guy...
About 11 or so top aides.
Oh, I thought it was 15. I thought
right,
it was.
okay,
anyway,
right.
I mean, well, we lose track because so many are leaving. We heard also from the Mail last week 2 other people leaving, and this guy is a pretty senior departure. This is James Holt, and he is the only person on the team who worked with them when they were still Royals in the UK. He went over there. He was their PR chief initially, and then he was in charge of this non-profit arm of their business there, which they're now deciding to scrap. Their accounts are absolutely terrible. They've splashed way too much cash, very poor management, and he's going, and it's unclear whether he decided to go or whether he was sacked. We're hearing lots of different ideas from different sources, but their whole team is an absolute mess. They tried to, the Sussexes, they slammed the Royals and their structure of staff, and then they tried to copy it there so that they could have some kind of team that would stay in place and was organised, a bit like how the Royals have it, and it just doesn't seem to be working. And
so the Archewell charity,
the bosses are the problem,
right? So the Archewell charity is going, is it? That's the one.
So they have a business with a they've got a non-profit arm, and they're getting rid of the non-profit arm.
Okay.
So I presume they'll operate just like a limited company now.
Okay.
OK, let's talk about New Year's Eve and all involved with it. Man, there's a story here in the Telegraph, Primrose Hill in London, apparently a great area to gather and be able to see fireworks and things going off all over London. And I've been thinking about this myself. It's very, very difficult to manoeuvre in London because London's closed off and can't get into it, and if you get into it, you can't get out of it again or whatever. What's happening at Primrose Hill?
Well, again, you know, this is under Sadiq Khan. It's broken London. And this time he's cancelled the New Year Eve celebration on Primrose Hill, which is a very popular spot simply because Sadiq Khan has abolished the Royal Parks police service.
Yes, so they won't pay for these police in various parks, Richmond Park, Hyde Park, whatever.
Indeed.
And then as a result, that means...
And as a result, that means, well, the Metropolitan Police is saying you must make alternative arrangements for your New Year's Eve. I think it's absolutely outrageous that Londoners aren't able to enjoy their own city the way they have been for generations, simply because Sadiq Khan can't get his act together.
I wonder if, though, this is more widely around the country, because I've noticed that with TikTok and that sort of thing, it does mean that, you know, people post pictures and go, this is the best place to go and do whatever it is. So everybody congregates in these smaller areas.
So your point is what?
Oh, sorry. I'm just saying. So it makes it almost impossible in terms of the squash.
Police,
in the past.
But what did we ever do before there were police?
Crowd control. I was there at Primrose Hill last year, and the crowd control was really difficult. And there was so much pushing and shoving. There was a risk of a horrible stampede, and then you had all these youngsters setting off their own fireworks, and you had all these rockets flying around. It was really scary. Getting out of there for sure.
Primrose Hill previously, you've had an actual murder that happened.
Yes.
And my goodness, it sounds terrifying.
It is.
Not what you want for New Year.
Indeed. And again, the same thing happens in a lot of our major points around the country, where you have crowds, but you have no crowd control. And it's a real indictment of where our regional mayors are in all of this.
But you know, New Year's Eve is a dilemma for all of us. People say, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I think, yes, I'll plan this, I'll do that. Most of it is prohibitively expensive to do.
And you have to stay up till midnight. That's the annoying
well, we've had this poll come out in the Sun saying that 6 in 10 Brits are not bothered about New Year's Eve, and most would rather stay home rather than go out. Apparently, the average spend is 116 quid to go out, and a lot of time you try and get into a pub or somewhere, and you wait half an hour just to get served, to get
try and get a taxi.
It's so busy. Trying to get a taxi, trying to get on public. I'm thinking of just staying home, to be honest, and I think a lot of people also, the terror threat is really high at the moment.
10 seconds, man, what are you going to do?
Well, I think you can't beat the sunrise later on New Year's Day at Broadstairs.
Oh, do you know what? You're so right. Beautiful. Anything, again, Primrose Hill maybe at sunrise. Maybe you'll be allowed to get in there by that time,
But whatever you're doing, Happy New Year to you. Will the weather be nice or not? Here we are, in this couple of days before it. Alex Burkill.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, this is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. For many, it's going to be a fine day. Lots of dry, sunny weather around. Just a few showers pushing into some eastern parts. Otherwise, like I said, yes, it is going to stay mostly dry. We have had a cold front pushing through overnight, and that's actually helped clear away some of the clouds. So for many, it is going to be brighter. It's going to be sunnier than it was yesterday. But with that colder air that's come in behind that cold front, temperatures are going to be slightly slightly lower, so a little bit below average for the time of year, generally peaking low single figures in the north, mid single figures towards the south. A bit of a breeze, particularly towards the east. That's going to add to the chilly feel to things. Now, as we go through towards this evening, there could be a few spots of showery rain affecting parts of Orkney and more so Shetland. Otherwise, across the rest of Scotland, it's looking dry. There'll be some clear skies as we go into the start of the night for most places here, and similar across parts of Northern Ireland. As a result, we're quickly going to see a bit of frost developing. Meanwhile, across much of England and Wales, a bit of cloud here and there, still a few showers towards some eastern coastal parts. Most places, though, ending the day on the same dry note that we'll have had through much of the day. Overnight, with a lot of dry, calm, clear weather, we are going to see temperatures plummeting. A fairly widespread frost across most parts, perhaps towards the east-southeast of England, a bit more cloud, maybe some fog here, so less frosty, but for most places it is going to be a chilly, frosty start to the day on New Year's Eve. Then through New Year's Eve itself, well, again, lots of fine sunny weather around, and it stays fine across southern parts through much of the day and into the evening. Further north, a slightly different story. There will be some showery rain feeding its way further southwards, and this could turn a bit wintry, some sleet or snow likely over higher ground, and more wet and at times windy weather to come as we go into New Year's Day across northern parts of Scotland.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A1 southbound Abbotsview off-slip remains closed for essential overnight roadworks. In Oxfordshire, a broken-down vehicle is causing delays on the A34 southbound between the M40 and A44 junctions, with one lane closed. Traffic is expected to return to normal between 7 and 7:15 this morning. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast faces significant engineering work between Milton Keynes Central and Northampton, with additional disruptions around Rugby. Meanwhile, cross-country services in the Cambridge area are impacted due to major engineering works. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date. £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with each month for a whole year. That could be you, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Good morning to you. The Foreign Secretary launches an urgent review into what she calls serious information failures over the case of Alaa Abdel Fattah.
Well, she says neither she nor the Prime Minister were told about his historic tweets, comments they now describe as abhorrent.
Despite that, Downing Street says he is still welcome in Britain, triggering a furious backlash.
All this as El Fattah apologises while his Facebook account likes a post suggesting he is the target of a Zionist campaign.
The British heavyweight boxer Anthony Joshua has been injured in a car crash in Nigeria, which killed 2 members of his team. We'll bring you the latest throughout the morning.
The Cabinet Office has been accused of covering up for the royal family after it emerged that official papers which refer to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor have been withheld from the National Archives. Why is the question?
Good things are happening in the Middle East. We have peace in the Middle East, and we're going to try and keep it that way. I think we will be very successful.
Trump says the Gaza reconstruction will begin very soon after talks with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. But he refused to clarify if Israel would withdraw from the Strip as part of the required steps in the peace plan.
Here's honours today. Actor Idris Elba, ice dancers Jane Torville and Christopher Dean, England women's football and rugby teams, all amongst more than 1,000 people recognised.
Well, the Prime Minister has given his congratulations to them this morning, saying they represent the very best of Britain. I'll have all the latest in just a little bit.
It's a crisp but largely fine day for many of us today. Will the dry weather last until the end of the year? Well, stick around and find out.
Hello there, very good morning. Good to see you just after 7 o'clock on this Tuesday morning. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Penny Smith and this is GB News Breakfast. What? It's about this time of year that I start looking back at the year and think, my goodness, aren't there an awful lot of days every year?
Yeah. Well,
I know it's an obvious thing to say, but I know, 365, 366...
But I didn't know what day it was this morning. I had to ask someone, what day is it? I was working on Sunday, which threw me off a bit, so it feels like Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
But it's actually only Tuesday.
It is Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
But you know what? I do think as well that at this time of year, when we've got Christmas, which is a bank holiday, Boxing Day, which is a bank holiday, then when it comes into a weekend, so that means you've got 4 days which are a bank holiday. Lots of people are off from the week before.
Yeah.
The whole thing is, I mean, you never know whether it's Tuesday or Chelmsford.
Or if you're off or on.
Or off.
Yeah.
I know. And so I do feel quite constantly that it's a very confusing time of year. And we are... Actually, I was just doing a quick final check of the date. Yes, it is indeed the 30th of December.
OK, and you're very welcome, however you're watching or however you're listening to us today. Leading the news this morning, the Home Secretary has launched an urgent review into what she calls serious information failures in the Alaa Abdel Fattah case.
Yvette Cooper says neither she nor the Prime Minister were told about historic online posts, comments now described by the government as abhorrent.
Now, that's despite Downing Street saying just yesterday that it welcomed the return of Mr El Fattah, who it said had been unfairly detained abroad.
Last night, the controversial activist pushed back, claiming that he's the victim of a so-called Zionist campaign after his verified Facebook account appeared to like a post actually making that allegation.
Right, here's political commentator Theo Usherwood, who we're delighted to welcome back. Is his defence cutting any ice, Theo? Because I would put it to you, just looking at what people are saying today, they have him hung, drawn and quartered over this one.
Yes, I think what people were looking for, certainly what the government was looking for in that apology, was a fulsome apology for those historical tweets, which go back, I think, to 2010. And the Prime Minister's spokesman described it yesterday as a fairly fulsome apology. But then, of course, we find ourselves with the front page of the Daily Telegraph this morning, where it's revealed that on his official Facebook account, a post was subsequently liked that said, the post said Zionists against Alaa Abdel Fattah were behind a campaign. And that, of course, raises questions as to whether really that apology was genuine. Robert Jenrick, who's the Shadow Justice Secretary, has tried to make hay out of this, saying it's time to strip Al-Fatah of his the British side of his citizenship and deport him. But the government is clearly not minded to do so. I think the feeling within the government is that they would be unsuccessful if they were to take it to court to try and remove his British citizenship simply on the back of...
How is the government emerging from this? I mean, higher senior members of the cabinet, the foreign secretary, people like that, and indeed the prime minister. How are they looking coming through this?
I think the problem, especially for the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, is that in the wake of what has happened in Manchester at the Heaton Park Synagogue, in the wake of what happened at Bondi Beach in Sydney, he pledged that and promised that the Jewish community in this country could feel safe, that there would be no place for anti-Jewish hatred in this country, and yet here he is welcoming a man back into the country.
And it's a big thing to ask Jewish people to say, look, this guy said this, but he didn't really mean it, or that was then, this is now. Do you forgive him? And I would suspect the answer probably is no.
But I also think, and this is a point that I've made previously, is that if you give individuals the opportunity to spread hateful rhetoric, then there is always going to be a risk, and this is where a lot of groups like the Community Security Trust have done work, and others, that there is always going to be an inherent risk. Indeed, it happens. We've seen it played out in Manchester, indeed in Sydney, that what starts as hateful rhetoric online spills over into violence against the Jewish community and ultimately, I think, against Western democracies. I think this is a broader problem. I think there's always there's always a temptation just to see, well, this is a problem for Jewish communities. But I think many Jewish communities, people I know in the community, see themselves as the canary in the coal mine. What starts with hatred against the Jewish community actually spreads to the hatred of the West.
You see, Penny, I look at this and I think, when you and I started out or whatever, 35 years ago, this would have been, a bit of a storm and it would have gone away. Social media changes all that.
It certainly has, and it's amplified everything. And this is part of the problem. And we have, as you say, Theo, it starts online, it goes into real life. We've seen, for example, with the pro-Palestinian demonstrations and from the river to the sea, which is believed to be anti-Jewish because it says essentially there should be no Jews there. And we talked earlier about the Zionists and how people talk about Zionists because then they don't have to say the word Jews, not always, but it's conflating. So I think that people will take issue. This article in the Daily Telegraph, we've got the Foreign Secretary saying she regretted that her public welcome to Mr Fatah had added to the distress felt by Jewish communities in the UK. I think distress is such an understatement. I mean, terrified is what they are. You're talking about schools where they have to have armed guards, people outside, synagogues where they can't go to pray in peace.
But we also had the security services last week, the revelation, and it came out at the end of a court case, of two Islamist extremists planning a marauding terrorist attack with, armed to the teeth with machine guns through the streets of Manchester. And which would the security services, by their own admission, said it would have been, had they not been able to, stop it in time, it would have been the worst terrorist attack in British history. That would, it may have targeted the British Jewish community in Manchester, but there would have been others outside, other people who would have been caught up in that as well. And I think it's really important that it comes down from the very top of government that this kind of rhetoric is unacceptable and has no place in British society.
And then do something about it. Yeah, that's the thing. What are you saying at home? Linda says Yvette Cooper and Keir Starmer, yet another denial of knowing the truth, this time about El Fatah. Amazing that we have to hear it through your programme to say what it is. Big question, how many other migrants are here with the same views as El Fatah? Thomas says Yvette Cooper has apparently launched an inquiry into information failures. The blame will fall on civil servants, and she, her boss, and bandwagon jumping MPs will get off with everything. They will be cleared.
Also, we should mention Robert Jenrick is quoted in here, and I think that probably quite a lot of those comments that have come into GB News would feel the same as him.
Yes, they would feel the same as him, but also, you know, Reform were making the point yesterday that this man was given his British citizenship when the Tories were in power.
Yes.
So I think you can't absolve. I mean, I know the Tories want to make the point now, but you can't absolve the last Conservative government of blame completely. This man was given the checks should have been done before he was given the British citizenship.
And that was when Boris Johnson was Prime Minister.
And had the checks been done beforehand, had the due diligence been done, we wouldn't find ourselves in the situation that we're in now.
OK, that's Theo's view. Your views very, very welcome. Have your say. Get in touch with us, and we will reflect those throughout the programme. Theo, pleasure to have had you this morning. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Time is 10 minutes past 7. The British boxing star Anthony Joshua is in a stable condition after a serious car crash in Nigeria that claimed the lives of 2 people.
It was a terrible smash. The former 2-time world heavyweight champion was travelling in the back of a black Lexus when the SUV collided with a stationary truck on a highway. Joshua, who is the son of British-Nigerian parents, suffered minor injuries. He was taken to hospital for treatment. And we're now going to talk from Nigeria, senior global reporter at the Mail Online, Nick Pisa. Nick, good to see you. Thank you. This is an awful, awful situation. I mean, Joshua must have been very lucky to have walked out of this.
Goodness me, Eamonn, yes. I think you and your viewers have seen those quite shocking pictures. That Lexus, completely mangled wreckage, and Joshua literally escaping death by inches. We know that he was sat behind the driver of that Lexus car, and the driver and Anthony Joshua escaped with minor injuries. But tragically, the front seat passenger and the back seat passenger both killed instantly in that crash. As you can see there, the truck that they ploughed into. I spoke with the authorities in Nigeria yesterday and again this morning, actually, and they said that that the accident was caused probably by speeding. That expressway is, I've been told, is in good condition. The surface of the road is good, but there have been 73 deaths on that highway this year alone. And they are looking at speed and a possible tyre blowout during an overtaking manoeuvre as the cause of that crash, but obviously early days yet. And obviously thoughts are with the 2 people who died, who are British nationals, and they've been named as Saina Gami and Latifa Adole, who are both trainers with Anthony Joshua. They've been with him many, many years, more than a decade apparently. Both lost their lives, and Saina Gami actually owns a gym in Harrow, North London, which will be closed today as a mark of respect for his death.
And is Anthony Joshua, he's in hospital in Nigeria, is he?
That's right, yes. I'm told he's here in Lagos, and that he was actually visited overnight by the British High Commissioner here, Deputy High Commissioner Simon Field. He's also been seen by officials from Ogun State, which is where the accident happened, and also Lagos State, which is the state nearby. They're saying that he is doing well, he's in a stable condition. The president of Nigeria put out a tweet last night saying that he had spoken with Anthony Joshua in hospital, and that he'd also spoken to Anthony Joshua's mother and reassured him that he was getting the best possible condition. But you do have to wonder, he is due to fight in February against another boxer called Rico Verhoeven, and then possibly have this super bout against Tyson Fury later next year. But with this smash and the mental condition of having seen your best friend literally killed next to you and another guy in front as well, you do have to wonder whether he will have the capacity to fight again.
And you wonder really, just when you look at the future, you wonder, will he be the same man again? Will he continue fighting? What will he do? I mean, he's got a personal wealth mountain. I mean, tens of millions of pounds that he's been able to win. And that Jake Paul clash just 2 weeks ago, he would have been on top of the world with that. And this is how the world really turns around, doesn't it, Nick?
Absolutely, Eamonn, because literally he and his entourage barrage, I'm told, had landed on Monday, and they posted Latif, also known as Kevin, one of his trainers, had posted video footage of them playing table tennis literally 2 or 3 hours before this fatal accident, and they were obviously delighted to be back in Nigeria, which is where, as you said in your introduction there, where Anthony Joshua's parents are from originally. And according to the Nigerian authorities, he was travelling to the village of Sagamu, which is about an hour or so here from Nigeria, from Lagos, and he was due to visit relatives there for the new year and spend a bit of time there with them. There's also a gym and a sports hall that was due to be open there in the next few weeks, which was going to be named in his honour as well. So he has very close connections with this part of Nigeria.
Yeah. Nick, we'll leave it there. Tragic story. I mean, one thing that Joshua walks away from it, you know, that's one of the things. We don't know how badly injured he is, but the deaths of Sindagami and Kevin Doyle, just absolutely tragic, awful. No other fatalities or injuries as regards to the crash, which happened at midday on a state highway. Nick, really appreciate your contribution. Thank you for giving us an insight to all of that.
Time is 7:15. It's time for the weather news now with Alex Burkle.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, this is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. For many, it's going to be a fine day. Lots of dry, sunny weather around. Just a few showers pushing into some eastern parts. Otherwise, like I said, yes, it is going to stay mostly dry. We have had a cold front pushing through overnight, and that's actually helped clear away some of the clouds. So for many, it is going to be brighter. It's going to be sunnier than it was yesterday. But with that colder air that's come in behind that cold front, temperatures are going to be slightly lower, so a little bit below average for the time of year, generally peaking low single figures in the north, mid single figures towards the south. A bit of a breeze, particularly towards the east. That's going to add to the chilly feel to things. Now, as we go through towards this evening, there could be a few spots of showery rain affecting parts of Orkney and more so Shetland. Otherwise, across the rest of Scotland, it's looking dry. There'll be some clear skies as we go into the start of the night for most places here, and similar across parts of Northern Ireland. As a result, we're quickly going to see a bit of frost developing. Meanwhile, across much of England and Wales, a bit of cloud here and there, still a few showers towards some eastern coastal parts. Most places, though, ending the day on the same dry note that we'll have had through much of the day. Overnight, with a lot of dry, calm, clear weather, we are going to see temperatures plummeting. A fairly widespread frost across most parts, perhaps towards the east-southeast of England, a bit more cloud, maybe some fog here, so less frosty, but for most places, it is going to be a chilly, frosty start to the day on New Year's Eve. Then through New Year's Eve itself, well, again, lots of fine sunny weather around, and it stays fine across southern parts through much of the day and into the evening. Further north, a slightly different story. There will be some showery rain feeding its way further southwards, and this could turn a bit wintry, some sleet or snow likely over higher ground, and more wet and at times windy weather to come as we go into New Year's Day across northern parts of Scotland.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
And we've got lots more still to come on the show. The star-studded New Year's honours list. We're going to be talking about that coming up.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversations.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Oh, let's talk about the New Year's Honours List. The King's 2026 New Year's Honours List. It's been released. It's recognised more than 1,000 people for their dedication and service to the community.
Now, heading the list are the actor Idris Elba, who's become Sir Idris Elba, and Jane Torval and Christopher Dean, amongst those recognised 40-odd years after dancing the bolero at the Olympics. I was saying to you, Penny, the thing that gets me, why have they to wait so long, 40 years? But then you say they already have
No, I think they've already got honours, but now they're stepping. Yes, they're going into first class.
Yeah.
Is what it is. They are turning left on the plane. Is that not true, Will Godley?
OK, well, we turn right and speak to you.
I'm firmly in economy class here. No honours for me.
Well, very, very happy. All the people who are there, it's a great day for them. They'll be absolutely delighted.
Well, absolutely. And Torval and Dean saying it's come at the perfect time for them as they went on their farewell tour. Yeah, they had their final dance this year on the ice. And so they said it's kind of the perfect moment for them to receive this damehood and knighthood for them. Also, Idris Elba, as you say, he's been recognised for his service to youth services because he's done a huge amount of work to tackle knife crime.
I always believe if you're an actor or an actress and you live long enough, you live beyond 50, you're guaranteed. You're just guaranteed. They become...
But he has done quite a lot for knife crime. I know, OK.
I'm a huge Idris Elba fan. I think he's done a lot against, say, knife crime.
Yeah.
He's used his profile from that point of view, and he does a lot of work for young people.
Well, absolutely, yeah, and he's campaigned for the last few years to ban zombie knives, which the government are now doing, so a huge win for him. But, I mean, a lot of the criticism about Idris Elba when it's come to whether he'll be the next Bond is he's not posh enough, he's too gritty. Perhaps being a Sir might help him out in that regards. But, yeah, Idris Elba leading the honours list this year, but also a huge year for those sports stars as well. The Lionesses, England Lionesses, they've had a fantastic summer as well, didn't they? Winning the Euros, that nail-biting final against Spain, went to penalties. And Serena Weigmann... honoured as well, an honorary damehood for her, Dutch woman, but...
See, here will be controversial again. If you look back in time and you look at older football teams, you look at the England World Cup winning team or whatever, and the people who didn't get honours at the time, but now it's like automatic. I know it's changed times, changed days, changed priorities, but congratulations to her. But I think there's a lot of people that they should retrospectively honour.
Good point. Yeah, because it was very much. I mean, if you were working class in the olden days, you did not get these.
I think you're spot on there, yeah.
Well, she's had some quite interesting comments in terms of receiving it as someone who's not British. She said, when I first arrived in England, I could have never imagined the respect and warmth I've experienced from the English people. She's thanking the fans as well for their support. And it's not just her recognised, but Leah Williamson, the captain, getting a CBE, Alex Greenwood, Kira Walsh, Georgia Stanway and Ella Toone as well, MBEs. Also the Red Roses, who won the World Cup, of course, England's women rugby team. They've been recognised in the honours. So a lot for the sports stars. Some snubbed, though. Lando Norris, who is the Formula One World Drivers' Championship. Many people thinking he might be on this year's honours list. Didn't get a mention. Neither
Rory McIlroy
either. Telegraph reporting that's down to his tax affairs this morning. But he, of course, was crowned BBC Sports Personality of the Year. No mention for him in this year's honours list either. Not just sports stars, though. We could talk about the BBC, former executive, one of the 3 executives who took the brunt of the blame over that Gaza documentary that was broadcast back in February, when it was revealed that it was actually narrated by the son of a Hamas official. Well, she has since left the BBC. The BBC say it's nothing to do with that documentary being broadcast, which they said was a significant mistake. But she's been recognised.
That's Charlotte Moore.
Charlotte Moore, yes. She's got an OBE for services to public service broadcasting. So many people...
I mean, that might be a bit contradictory, you know, a controversial one. But here's a guy associated with the BBC, Roy Clarke. Roy Clarke is 95 years of age, and you probably don't have a clue who he is. But he wrote Last of the Summer Wine, and he wrote Open All Hours, and Keeping Up Appearances as well. And I think, you know, people who do that sort of thing, that's a tremendous gift that that man had.
A knighthood for him as well. So, yeah, lots in the entertainment world. And this, not just entertainment world, but a D-Day veteran as well. I love this story. Mervyn Kirsch, he's one of the oldest people to be honoured this year, 101 years old. He's only one of 4 people who are over 100 years old. And he arrived in France 3 days after D-Day. He was serving in the army as a technical clerk, looking after the vehicles, ensuring the vehicles there were up to scratch and technically all sound. Then he served near Bergen-Belsen, the concentration camp that, of course, British forces liberated. And he's actually said, speaking about hearing that he's got this British Empire Medal for talks on Holocaust remembrance in schools. He said he's disappointed with how Britain is at the moment, saying what's disappointing is the anti-Semitism that I see everywhere, I hear everywhere or read. And he's actually using his moment in the press today to call on the government to do more, spend more money on defence, because he says the threat that Russia has on the West is very much that he sees, and he thinks we need to take it more seriously.
So many names when you delve in here. One half of the Chuckle brothers, the remaining member, Paul Elliott, MBE, Warwick Davis, the actor, OBE, and Matt Lucas, OBE as well. It's just so many names.
Mira Sayal becomes a Dame.
Yeah.
Dame Mira Sayal.
Bill Bailey, MBE.
Oh,
there we go. Yeah, well, we
what
could go
a clever man.
But a good day for anybody who's picked up something. Thank you very much indeed, Will. Thank you.
You know, when you got yours, how long did you have to think about your outfit? Did you go...
Oh, no, that's very easy. Because, you know, as a man, you have a morning suit. You wear a morning suit.
Oh, that's it? Oh.
Well, yeah, so it's easly for a man, isn't it?
What, did you... I mean, what?
So
hanky?
it's tails.
Special hanky? Special socks?
Maybe. Well, the tie and the hanky was OK, you know. That was all right.
Yeah, you're right.
And
that is much easier if you just go, black tie.
That was my biggest plus, I think, with that. To receive it from the late Queen. On that was a nice.
Did she say anything to you?
Yeah, we've heard the story well.
You're told you've got 2 minutes with her, right? And when she's finished talking to you, she has your hand in her hand, and she will push it back, right? And that's it over. So she said to me, "You must have interviewed a lot of people in your time." And I said, "I have, Mom. I have. In fact, I've interviewed everyone in your family, with one exception." She said, "Really? Who's that?" I said, "You, Mom." I said, "Well, we could sort that out today. We could do that. I've got a camera just at the end of the stage there, and there's only 6 more people after me, and we could have a bit of a chat about it." I genuinely was chancing my arm. I genuinely thought she just might do it. And she went, "So you have 2 minutes, remember? There's now 15 seconds has elapsed." And she went... and she pushed my hand back, and that was me finished. So that was it, my 15 seconds. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, that was Will Godley. Thank you very much. The time is 29 minutes past 7. Time for the Great British Giveaway. Here are all the details.
We want to make the new year your best year yet, with a chance to win our greatest cash prize to date. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to splash on anything you can dream of. Treat the family to that bucket list holiday you've always fancied. Get your dream car you've always wanted. Or just relax, safe in the knowledge that the coming year is on us. £85,000 is the biggest cash prize we've ever given away. It's totally tax-free, which means that every single penny of it will be yours. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Donald Trump met Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday. We're going to bring you all that we know about that right after this. Don't go away.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Be advised, the A1 southbound Abbotsview off-slip is closed to allow for essential overnight roadworks. Meanwhile, in Norfolk, the A11 southbound is experiencing disruptions between the junctions with the A134 Thetford West and the A1 101. A collision here has resulted in the closure of one of 2 lanes. Additionally, on the trains, there is major engineering work affecting Avanti West Coast services between Milton Keynes Central and Northampton and Rugby. Cross Country is also experiencing disruptions due to significant engineering work in the Cambridge area. Stay up to date at gbnews.com.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
My Yesterday, Donald Trump welcomed Israel's Prime Minister to his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. Wouldn't you hate to go to Mar-a-Lago? I look at it and I go, oh my God, it's so garish. Yuck. But anyway, so following these talks, Trump said that reconstruction in Gaza would begin very soon, but he declined to say whether Israel would withdraw.
During the visit, the Israeli Prime Minister announced that he intends to award President Trump Israel's prize, the country's highest civilian honour.
Well, joining us now, Middle East commentator and author Jotam Confino. Jotam, good morning. Very good to see you.
You too. Good morning to you.
What do you make of the talks yesterday? Do you think we made any advances in any way?
Look, we made advancements in terms of the question of Iran and their nuclear program and their ballistic missile program. I think that was the most interesting thing that Donald Trump said yesterday, which is that the United States will attack their ballistic missile program and nuclear program if they don't hold both of them and if they don't enter into an agreement with the United States. I think that was the most interesting thing that was said yesterday. That is also what Netanyahu very much hoped for, because I believe, and I think many in Israel believe, that 2026 will be the year where Israel launches another attack on Iran's nuclear program, because despite Donald Trump saying that it's been obliterated, that's just not the case. They still have a nuclear program. They're currently continuing to develop ballistic missiles. So I think this was really groundbreaking to get a public statement on this by Donald Trump. In terms of Gaza, I have to say I'm a bit skeptical of the things that he said about the International Stabilization Force.
Yeah, I'm a bit sceptical about the Iranian situation, Jotam. What are they expected to do? What does Iran do in response to what has been said yesterday?
Well, they responded pretty quickly. They issued a statement in Hebrew saying any attack will be met with a severe counterattack. So this is obviously what we can expect. If Israel and the United States decide to attack Iran again, ballistic missiles will rain over Israel behind me. You know, everywhere in Israel there'll be ballistic missiles again. So we will enter another war. So you
could argue, Jotam, that perhaps this ratchets up war talk at a point when I think many people felt that things were calming down somewhat.
Yes and no, but I think after the 12-day war in the summer, it became clear that the Iranian regime hadn't been completely damaged to the extent that Israel wanted. They did significantly damage their nuclear program, but they didn't destroy it fully. And in terms of their ballistic missiles, they still are developing them. And as Netanyahu has said, that is an existential threat for Israel. If they continue at this pace and they end up having tens of thousands of ballistic missiles, they will overwhelm Israel's air defense, and they will cause much more damage than they did during the war in the summer.
OK. Jotam, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for your take on things. Appreciate it.
Yes, the time is 7:37. Coming up, we're going to be talking about the actor George Clooney, his wife Amal and their 2 children, because they have become French citizens.
Zut alors.
I know. Oh, mon Dieu.
Eamonn Bogle, Chloe Daub. There they are. Their view on all of that and much, much more after this.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst there's plenty of dry and bright weather across the UK at the moment, it's a different story around southern Europe. There's some rain sweeping its way towards Madeira and towards the Canary Islands through the next couple of days. It's wet across southern parts of Spain and northern Morocco. Some thundery rain likely again as we go through later this week. And further east, also some outbreaks of rain affecting parts of Greece and towards Cyprus. And some of these could be heavy and thundery at times. More changeable weather to come as we head into the new year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Patrick Christie's Tonight. Weekdays from 9 p.m.
Look, this is winter. It's flu. Flu comes in winter. Sure as eggs is eggs. There's nothing particularly special about the virus. It has mutated, but that change has made it able to spread through the community by defeating our existing immunity. But the virus itself remains the same in terms of its clinical impact. So while it's a problem at a community and population level, lots of cases, for people who catch this, it's no worse than normal seasonal flu. It's not like we've got a supercharged flu that makes people much iller. We've got a virus that's spreading better and it's come earlier. So we're seeing it rising up the sort of infectious disease rates faster for this time of year. And there are a number of reasons for that, partly because it is a different virus, it's mutated. We haven't seen this particular strain spread for a couple of years. So population immunity levels are quite low. That's why it's spreading more.
What you said there, very calm, very rational, quite reassuring, to be honest with you, seems very logical, understandable. Earlier today, the BBC decided to do a report that looked a lot like this. Let's play the clip.
The throwback, isn't it? We were used to wearing these a few years ago. Now this is the precaution being taken. Also, people are being told to make sure their hands are clean and that they're not bringing germs into the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we haven't got time to play it all, but she goes on to, like, you know, use the hand sanitizer. Again, I'm just wondering if it's a little bit fear-mongery.
Well, look, we must take flu seriously because it's a fact that if we tot up the excess mortality in the wintertime, just in the UK, and we attribute a lot of this excess mortality to flu, in an average year, maybe 5,000-6,000 people will lose their lives to flu. And in a bad year, it might be as high as 20,000. So we don't take this lightly. We're not complacent about flu.
GB News, the People's Channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Now, joining us to go through what's making the news in the newspapers, political commentator Eamonn Bogle, political commentator Chloe Dobbs. A clutch of political commentators, perhaps.
Which we cheer, because if we were at the World Darts last night, we may not have cheered. We may have booed, and surprisingly, the target of that abuse is Luke Littler, who I thought was everybody's favourite.
Yes, I mean, the poor guy's only 18 years old. Who boos an 18-year-old who, even if you slightly prefer Rob Cross, who he was up against, who's a former champion, I mean, you've got to, you know, give your hat to an 18-year-old who's doing so incredibly well. But he didn't let
not a sports fan.
He didn't let the haters win, and he went back at them and he said, "Well, folks, you can boo all you want, but you've paid your ticket, which is paying for my prize money. So." Joke's on you.
I think it might have been more banter than, to be honest, hate. And I think it's probably because he does so well.
But, man, there's alcohol involved, there are big crowds, you know, it can be, you know, and it depends how badly you want to win or how he did win. I didn't see the match, but he could have won in controversial circumstances.
I think these people might be booing because he doesn't let them have their money's worth, because he finishes up so quickly. And the whole thing doesn't last the hour that it should. And they don't get enough time to see their players play darts. Possibly that might be the case.
Well, who knows why they boo, but I don't know. I like booing at pantomimes and that sort of thing. That's good. But otherwise, I can't see the point of booing just because people are doing what they're doing.
People like
if it's something like that.
Well, I mean, it's commonplace in something like soccer, isn't it?
Don't they?
It's commonplace.
What, you actually boo the other team?
Of course you. What am I on a different planet here?
Not quite. I don't know. I just haven't been to enough football matches. Patently, I need to go to a football match with you, and then can I boo the other team?
Yeah.
Oh, OK.
It's not
so
quite,
when they
it's
get
not
the
quite
ball,
as
I just
civilised
go
as Wimbledon.
Yeah, so, you know, it's not always fair, put it like that. There are unfair advantages.
As I said, I just can't see the point of booing. I mean, cheer your own side, but don't boo when the other people do it, for goodness sake. What is wrong with people? Let's have a bit of decorum here. Now, Eamonn, I wanted to go on to your story that you found in The Guardian. This is The Guardian front page, which is 1 in 3 believe Britishness is dependent on being born in the
I'm
UK.
scratching my head on this one, unless I've missed the point here with this. Surely it's all about where you're born, totally where you're born, if you're British or not. What else would characterise whether you're British?
Well, Britishness is different from being British. So I suppose, I don't know. Hopefully Emann's going to explain all.
I mean, look, I'm a very proud British Indian because I was born in India. And I'm very, blessed to be born Indian, but I'm equally, proud to be British.
But I can see the Britishness, the spread there, and what the connection is with India historically. I can see that. Yeah. I can't see it if you were born in China, for instance.
Well, I think I would argue that, it's about culture, not colour. It's about the resources that the country has and not race when it comes to integrating people as British. So if you are born, I don't know, anywhere in the world, but you come to the UK and you embrace our culture, our traditions, and you value our civilizational inheritance.
And you use the word our as opposed to their.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
That also helps.
Well, exactly. So I think you very much can become British in the sense that, I always say, I'm not English because English is, in my opinion, an ethnicity, but I am British. I mean, I'm an honorary Ulster.
You've lost me now, mate. You can't have it both ways. I could say I like to be American, but I can't be American. I wasn't born there. It's like playing for an international football team or something. You have to have parents or grandparents who were born associated with the country. You can't just suddenly wake up one day and say, do you know what, I would like to play for Uganda. I've always wanted to be Ugandan.
But if you lived there for 40 years...
Yes, that's different. But we're just talking there, you can be anybody born anywhere and still be British.
Well, if you haven't integrated, then of course you can't be British.
So you need to live in Britain.
You live in Britain.
And you need to love Britain.
Exactly.
I think it's a mixture of where you're born, your family are born, and also your culture and your love for this country. I mean, of course, in the news that we've got today, Alaa Abdel Fattah, the one who wrote those horrific extremist tweets and seems to want a genocide of white people by the sounds of it, or at least thought so about a decade ago. And he has a British passport. I would say, sorry, that's someone who isn't British.
Yeah, he's not British. He can have a British passport as a document, but he's not British. And the same applies for, vast majority of people that, they don't speak English. If you don't integrate with the rest of society, well, frankly, you're not British.
Yeah.
We in Northern Ireland are very lucky because we can have dual nationality. We can be British and we can be Irish.
Well, Eamonn, when I stood in Northern Ireland for Parliament, I became an honorary Ulsterman, very much so, because, again, the time I spent in Northern Ireland, I very much integrated, learned a lot about the culture, the history, the present-day politics, what's happened in the past, and how I was standing to bring more peace to that place. So, yeah, I think you can become British, but you have to integrate. Love this country.
You're such an interesting man, Eamonn. So I forgot, of course, that you stood there on a political platform.
Yes, in Upper Bann.
Yeah.
So can we just move on to the fact that you're saying that you got this sort of confusion about Britishness, etc. Well, George Clooney is now French. Well, they've all gone French, haven't they? Amal and...
Yeah, well, how can he do that, Penny?
Well, I tell you who knows all about this is somebody who's sitting to the right of you, Chloe.
Well, I think when you've got a lot of money and you're famous, anyone will dish you out a passport. I wouldn't call him French, but he is a French citizen. And one of the reasons why he was keen to get this...
He lives in Italy.
He's got various properties, but they seem to be settling. They've got properties in the US, properties in Italy, but he really wants to bring up his children in France. They've got some lovely big vineyard in France. And the main reason why is they say the culture around privacy in France. They say the paparazzi don't come after you everywhere. People don't take pictures of your children. And he feels like his children will be able to live a relatively normal life there, whereas he says he wouldn't dare bring them up in somewhere like LA because the children would just be clobbered all the time and wouldn't be able to live normal private lives.
Now, you see, it says that Amal, his wife, is Lebanese. I thought she was Oh,
she's British Lebanese.
Lebanese. I'm not sure where she was born.
He was just going, wandering around the world, in fact, looking at various places.
No, I know. But the privacy thing is ridiculous. I mean, I went away for Christmas for 3 days, and unbeknown to me until I came back on Sunday, I realised that the paparazzi had been shooting busy with me and the people that I was with. And what they love is, and which is an absolute disgrace, they love seeing me in a disabled position, in a wheelchair, basically, and they get that picture and they go, look, Eamonn the cripple, and they put that everywhere, absolutely all the time. But it is deplorable. It is absolutely deplorable.
No morality whatsoever. And you thought that after we had the whole Levson inquiry that the culture around this would change, and it has a little bit, but still they often go too fast so that they can get their story.
Eamonn, can we move on to a story that you found in the Daily Mail about? The headline is "Elderly urged to wiggle toes."
Yes, this is official advice as we invite, sort of snowy white Arctic blast coming in.
Oh, I see. This is about the cold weather. Okay.
Over the next week. But they've also been told, look, I mean, this is common sense stuff. Keep moving, eating well, and wearing several layers of clothing as the temperature plunges to, -8. But I think...
Not going to be -8 everywhere, is it?
No, I hope not. But that's what is being...
I won't survive if it's -8.
-8? I mean, what do you wear in -8, apart from sort of an all-in-one suit and covered in hot water bottles?
I never understand how people live in places like Russia during the winter. Don't they get, like, something like -30?
Well, look at Lapland.
Oh, I wouldn't. I'd be dead.
Anyway, wiggling toes. Wiggling toes is an important thing. Eating well and several levels ago. I grew up in a household where Dad refused to put the heating on until there was actual virtually snow on the inside of the windows. So we all were told to put extra jumpers on. So at some stages during the winter, I actually couldn't put my arms down. They were sort of I had so many jumpers.
I used
so many jumpers on.
I use my dog as a hot water bottle. If he tries to sleep away from me, I'm like, nope, come back, you'll need it. It's too cold.
That's a beautiful thing, Chloe. That bond between animal and human, and it works both ways, and it is just a wonderful thing. I totally understand what you're saying.
Apparently there was a study done saying that showing that women sleep better next to a dog than next to their husband.
Sometimes they're one and the same thing.
But on a serious note, I mean, look, a lot of our pensioners have had their winter fuel allowance, I would argue, stolen by the government. And that's not allowing them to heat their homes as much as they should be. And that's a serious matter that the government should be doing actual U-turn on as we get this Arctic blast.
Yeah, because the thing is that in general, as you get older, you do feel the cold.
Exactly.
Much more. Now, Chloe, can we just briefly end up with give your dog a phone, talking of dogs, give your dog a phone, how apps are bringing unruly pets to heel.
Yes, so there are apps like Zigzag is one of the most popular ones. People are using it as a training app. And to be honest, I've had one of these apps when I first got my dog. And some of the advice on there is it's fairly simplistic. But what people like about it is it gives them the accountability, because you get a notification on your phone each day saying, have you done your training today? It's time to do your training. And also, of course, we've got New Year's Eve coming up tomorrow. Fireworks. One thing they do is the app will, gradually noise train your dog by giving them sounds of fireworks in moderation, and then I think making it louder, which then means that on New Year's Eve you don't have to worry so much about your dogs being panicked by the fireworks, which I think is quite a useful tool, actually.
It's a bit like, as a teenager we had these things called these Tamagotchi.
Yes,
you remember
the Tamagotchis.
Where you had to keep your dog alive and feed and virtually. And I think this is just a modern version of that, Claire, wouldn't you say?
With real animals.
With real animals.
Keep them alive. Well, there are a lot of people. There was this huge boom, of course, people getting dogs in lockdown, who then, when they got back to work, were struggling to look after them, and these tools help.
Chloe, Eamonn, thank you both very much indeed. The guys are going to be back in 40 minutes' time.
Yeah, time for an update now on your weather with Alex Burkill.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, this is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. For many, it's going to be a fine day. Lots of dry, sunny weather around. Just a few showers pushing into some eastern parts. Otherwise, like I said, yes, it is going to stay mostly dry. We have had a cold front pushing through overnight, and that's actually helped clear away some of the clouds. So for many, it is going to be brighter. It's going to be sunnier than it was yesterday. But with that colder air that's come in behind that cold front, temperatures are going to be slightly lower, so a little bit below average for the time of year, generally peaking low single figures in the north, mid single figures towards the south. A bit of a breeze, particularly towards the east, that's going to add to the chilly feel to things. Now, as we go through towards this evening, there could be a few spots of showery rain affecting parts of Orkney and more so Shetland. Otherwise, across the rest of Scotland, it's looking dry. There'll be some clear skies as we go into the start of the night for most places here, and similar across parts of Northern Ireland. As a result, we're quickly going to see a bit of frost developing. Meanwhile, across much of England and Wales, a bit of cloud here and there, still a few showers towards some eastern coastal parts. Most places, though, ending the day on the same dry note that we'll have had through much of the day. Overnight, with a lot of dry, calm, clear weather, we are going to see temperatures plummeting. A fairly widespread frost across most parts, perhaps towards the east-southeast of England, a bit more cloud, maybe some fog here, so less frosty, but for most places, it is going to be a chilly, frosty start to the day on New Year's Eve. Then through New Year's Eve itself, well, again, lots of fine sunny weather around, and it stays fine across southern parts through much of the day and into the evening. Further north, a slightly different story. There will be some showery rain feeding its way further southwards, and this could turn a bit wintry, some sleet or snow likely over higher ground, and more wet and at times windy weather to come as we go into New Year's Day across northern parts of Scotland.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for helping us reach 10 million followers across our social media platforms. We're truly honoured to have your trust, one follower at a time.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A83 is facing restrictions in both directions at Locknell Street, Loch Gilphead, due to emergency roadworks. In Norfolk, the A11 southbound between the junctions with the A134 Thetford West and the A1101 is experiencing disruption due to a road traffic collision with one of two lanes closed. This incident is anticipated to clear later today. On the trains, Avanti West Coast major engineering work is ongoing between Milton Keynes Central and Northampton or Rugby. Additionally, there is significant engineering work affecting cross-country services in the Cambridge area. Stay up to date at gbnews.com.
We want to make the new year your best year yet, with a chance to win our greatest cash prize to date. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Treat the family to that bucket list holiday you've always fancied. Get your dream car you've always wanted. Or just relax, safe in the knowledge that the coming year is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
A really important thing about GB News, and it's brought something completely different to the landscape.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, the reality is that most British journalists are afraid. That's not GB News.
Journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
We're here to talk about things in a way that have never been broadcast on British Airways before.
Do not miss a moment on GB News.
The #1 news channel in the country.
Hello there, thank you for your company this morning on television, on radio, online. The headlines. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper launches an urgent review into what she calls serious information failures over Allah Abdel Fattah.
She says that neither she nor the Prime Minister were told about his historic tweets, comments they now describe as abhorrent.
Well, despite that, Downing Street says he's still welcome in Britain, triggering a furious backlash.
And all this as El Fattah apologises, whilst his Facebook account actually likes a post suggesting that he is the target of a Zionist campaign.
Yes, serious information failures, admits the government, but is that really going to cut it with the public announcing a review? Meanwhile, Nigel Farage says that a reform government would change the law to revoke citizenship from dual nationals expressing vile and anti-British views. I'll bring you more details shortly.
Your views very welcome. Have your say. There's the British heavyweight boxer Anthony Joshua, injured in that car crash yesterday in Nigeria. It unfortunately killed 2 members of his team. We'll bring you the latest very, very shortly.
The Cabinet Office has been accused of covering up for the royal family after it emerged that official papers which refer to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor have been withheld from the National Archives.
The good things are happening in the Middle East. We have peace in the Middle East, and we're going to try and keep it that way. I think we will be very successful.
President Trump saying that Gaza reconstruction will begin very soon after talks with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but he refused to clarify if Israel would withdraw from the Strip as part of any required steps.
And the actor Idris Elba, the ice dancers Jane Torval and Christopher Dean, and England's women's football and rugby teams, amongst more than 1,000 people recognised in the New Year's honours list.
It's a crisp but largely fine day for many of us today. Will the dry weather last until the end of the year? Well, stick around and find out.
Very good to have you on board. Eamonn and Penny here until 9:30. Very good to see you.
Yeah, this is GB News Breakfast. So there's a story in the papers today about if you've got an embarrassing email address, now you can actually change it without losing the email people, the things that people send to you on an email.
Okay.
Right. Okay. You with me so far?
Yeah, but I don't know why it would be embarrassing.
Because here you go.
Oh.
There's somebody who says, I've been stuck with an email address that I created when I was 13.
All right.
It's a bit of a jokey one.
All right.
So, and of course, the point is, the longer you have it, the more people know that email address, and then you've got to actually change it properly, and it involves a great deal of hoo-ha, I think you could say. There's somebody else, for example, who says that I got married and I got stuck with my old name in the email address. Now, I've been through about 10 email addresses, and each time I've kind of lost people as they obviously send stuff pinging off into the wilderness. But I was just thinking, isn't it funny how, when I was growing up, we didn't have postcodes when I first started. When I first started life, when I was little, and then you got your postcode, but it didn't really matter. You could put first house on the left, frankly, near the green, and it probably still would have got to us. And now it's the first thing you ask. You almost don't need people's address. You
Just
put the
give me a postcode,
name and a number,
Right.
number of the road, and pretty much that's it.
Yeah.
Couldn't you?
Yeah,
You could just
yeah.
put that on there. And I was just thinking how interesting it is. I mean, at some stage, we probably won't need email addresses.
Do we need answer machine messages? Do we?
Oh, those answer machine. Well, it's weird. We were talking about how nowadays, how people send you these messages on a WhatsApp and they just leave messages as they're walking along. So you get them huffing along saying, oh, incidentally, yeah, so about just wondered if you could... And you just think, send me a text. Send me a text. What? You're looking at me in a funny tone of voice, Eamonn.
I don't like voice messages because they take a long time.
To listen to.
Yeah, but I can see how... I also don't like typing a lot. My phone does this predictive text where it always comes out wrong, no matter what you're touching.
It's so annoying.
It just changes it to something completely different.
I know.
You don't notice it until you press send, and then you see, oh, this is all gobbledygook.
Exactly. And then you have to do another one saying, I didn't mean that, I meant that.
Yes.
And then it autocorrects again. And then you have to say, oh, obviously I didn't mean that, I meant that. And also the other part, didn't mean that either.
Well, what we do mean is to tell you what's happening news-wise today. So thank you for staying on board with us. The Home Secretary has launched an urgent review into what she calls serious information failures in the Ali Abdel Fattah case.
Yvette Cooper says neither she nor the Prime Minister were told about historic online posts, comments now described by the government as abhorrent.
Well, Downing Street is said just yesterday that it welcomed the return of Al Fattah, who it said had been unfairly detained abroad.
Last night, the controversial activist pushed back, claiming that he is the victim of a so-called Zionist campaign. That was after his verified Facebook account liked a post making that allegation.
Well, sitting through that, watching us here, is our political correspondent, our chief political correspondent, Catherine Foster. Catherine, what have you got to tell us, the latest on this?
Well, the government are going on quite a slow journey on this, I would say. So when he first made it to Britain, bearing in mind he is an Egyptian man who's lived and worked and been in jail in Egypt, was only granted British citizenship basically because his grandmother had given birth to his mother here, but hasn't been living here previously. The Prime Minister, he said he was delighted. Then all of these horrendous and very shocking and very violent anti-Semitic, anti-white, anti-West posts have emerged. And the government says they're abhorrent, but still yesterday was saying, well, we welcome the fact that we've got him to Britain because he is a British citizen. Now, the Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has decided to have a Foreign Office review into what they call serious information failures as to how none of these cabinet ministers, and this also applies to the previous Conservative government, none of these many actors, none of these many MPs who lauded him and fought for him to be brought back knew about these vile things that he said on social media, which is quite astonishing because when this story broke, it only took a couple of hours before journalists and others started uncovering these. On Good Afternoon Britain yesterday, we interviewed Sohrab Ahmari, who is the US editor of Unheard. Now, he wrote a piece for the Wall Street Journal 10 years ago about all the horrendous comments this man has made, which actually stopped Al Fattah being given a prize. So this information was out there. Is it really any excuse to say we didn't know? And I think there's a real question about basic competence of cabinet ministers, of the civil service, not to carry
Catherine,
out very fundamental checks.
I would say they did know, and it's not a question that this was an oversight or someone didn't declare this, whatever. They work in, I was going to say mysterious ways, but sometimes they're obvious ways. They wanted him to be given citizenship. They want him here. They'll just ignore the slight technicalities that get in the way.
Well, I mean, the comments are very shocking. I keep seeing more of them. Of course, he's deleted them, but lots of people have screenshotted. One that I saw just on the way in, this was in 2010. As always, my consolation is that Europeans have adopted voluntary extinction by failing to breed just a few more decades, and it will be over. Does that sound like somebody who shares British values and Western
No, but it may also be true.
Values?
That's the thing, it may be true.
Yes, but this is a comfort to him. Yeah. This is a comfort
but Catherine,
to him.
What is to be done about him? What options are open now to the British government?
Well, the Conservatives and Reform want him to be deported. At the lobby briefing yesterday, it sounded pretty clear that the government don't think that they can do this, even though you could potentially do it if you view somebody as an extremist. And I think many people will argue that this man is. But it sounds at the moment like if the government tried to get shot of him, and of course that would admit that they'd made a terrible mistake, so they might not want to do that. They clearly have made a mistake. He would no doubt fight it in the courts. So we may very well be stuck with him. But I think it is interesting that Nigel Farage is saying, well, a reform government would change the law so that if you are a dual citizen and you're found to have said vile, anti-British, anti-Western things or incitement to violence, you can be deported. There's also some suggestions that the Egyptians might strip his citizenship.
Which would
and then, of course, we could never... Exactly.
Well, that's right. And, of course, it was Boris Johnson who originally was started down this path.
Yes, and Priti Patel was Home Secretary, and a lot of Conservatives. So this, both Labour and the Conservatives are implicated in this. OK, the Conservatives now are talking very tough, but when they were in power, they were also campaigning to get this.
He was pro-democracy. He was a pro-democracy campaigner, and he was anti-Muslim Brotherhood, and that was why he ended up in jail for 9 years. So we should put that out there as well, which is why there was that. I'm just sort of putting context onto why there was this support for him. He was pro-democracy. And they were deleted tweets. We've got various comments. Thank you very much, by the way, for all your comments that are coming in. Thomas says, Yvette Cooper's urgent review is predictable. Opens with waffle, ends with lessons will be learnt. That's it. The trick, Thomas says, will be to count how many lies they squeeze into it. I think many people will be spitting tacks about the fact that we're hearing rather mealy-mouthed comments about regretting certain things that Yvette Cooper said. I mean, and there's a number of comments in the article in The Telegraph today where she regrets the way that people might feel about this.
Yeah. Well, I think it's worth remembering the government's first job is keeping its citizens safe. This man has become a British citizen, but there are 60-odd million British citizens here, and the Jewish community, just one community, feeling absolutely outraged that this man has been
I'm smiling that you're saying their first priority is to keep British people safe. Of course it is. Of course it is. But I really do think that with politicians, their first priority is covering their backsides, basically, and that's what they're trying to do.
I think a lot of people will be thinking that. And, of course, the government said the other day that this had been one of their top priorities to get this man.
OK. Catherine's had her say on this. Please do have your say. Appreciate it, Catherine. Leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. The latest on Anthea Joshua now. We hear he's in a stable condition following that car crash in Nigeria yesterday. And the really bad thing is that two of his colleagues, and they were also close friends of his, have died in the accident.
The former two-time world heavyweight champion was travelling in the back of a black Lexus when he was behind the driver when the SUV collided with a stationary truck on a highway in Macon.
Well, Joshua, who is the son of British-Nigerian parents, he suffered minor injuries, we're hearing. He was taken to hospital for treatment. He looked in a lot of pain from many pictures that I have seen on this. We're going to get the view and the take now of sports correspondent and former chief sports writer for the Sunday People, Neil Moxley. Neil, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys.
Just such a shocking situation, Neil, when you look at what this guy, 2 weeks ago, he's on top of the world, he's made himself 11 million quid or whatever, and life takes a tragic turn like this, it just turns round. What do you think the future is for him?
Well, the first thing to say, guys, and I'm sure you would concur with this is that sincerest condolences go out to the two guys who were personal friends of Anthony, who obviously lost their lives in this tragic accident. As for the future for Anthony Joshua, I think it essentially comes down to what the injuries were that he sustained in this tragic accident, not just the physical ones, but also the mental scars that he's left behind. The plan was for him to have a warm-up fight in Saudi Arabia, I believe, earlier in the year, and then try for, a bout that everybody wanted to see, which was to settle the argument once and for all with Tyson Fury. And that was planned, I believe, for late in 2026 if everything had gone according to plan. Obviously, those plans, such as they were, have been thrown up into the air now by this episode, and obviously it remains to be seen both what his physical state is and, more tellingly, what his mental state is going forward. And I think once we've got answers to those two questions, and I think they'll come quite quickly, will we have an idea of where Anthony Joshua goes from here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at those photographs. It is amazing that two people survived that crash. And as you said about the mental, it's about the mental pressure that this puts on you. Survivor's guilt, for example. You're talking about friends, really, really close friends, dying, and he and the driver surviving. That's the big issue, isn't it? I mean, obviously we'll get to hear more about the injuries, the physical injuries later on.
Yeah, absolutely, Penny. I mean, anybody who knows anything about boxing knows that the friendships that are going to form between members who've been an integral part of Anthony Joshua's backroom team for over a decade are going to be deep friendships and deep relationships. It's his personal trainer and his sports and exercise coach have sadly passed away during this accident. So they really were integral parts, of the backroom team. People that made Anthony Joshua tick, kept him on the right sort of path, and prepared him for some of the biggest fights that he's had during his career. So I don't think it can be overstated, the mental anguish that he's going through right now at the loss of obviously two close friends.
When you put that together, Neil, and you're painting the picture, the personal and the professional loss that he has endured, when you look at the lad's personal wealth, for instance, I mean, he doesn't really need, you can say you never have enough money and whatever it is, but he's hardly going to be driven by the need to make more money. He is worth tens of millions of quid and dollars.
Absolutely, Eamonn. Completely understand your point. He doesn't need to go back into the ring for the money, but Anthony Joshua is a hugely marketable athlete still. And you and I both know that there'll be some significant figures in the background sort of suggesting that he might like to continue his career, because of the fact that obviously, through this, it's become a story again. That's the horrible truth of the matter as we sit here at the moment, which is a dreadful thing to have to say.
What has he got to prove, Neil? Has he got anything to prove, for instance?
Absolutely nothing, Eamonn. He's pretty much taken on anybody that he could during a glittering career that's spanned, like I say, well over a decade. There is this lingering question over whether or not there's an appetite for him to meet Tyson Fury. Personally, I'd like to see the fight. I'd like to see that argument put to bed once and for all, but not really if it came at a cost to Anthony Joshua. I'd like to see him, obviously he's got to search deep within his soul to find out whether or not he's still got an appetite for boxing. If he has and he can dedicate himself to it, then absolutely, the fight's there to be struck. Yeah. But, looking at it the other way, the mental torture and anguish and motivation, you would imagine, has dimmed considerably following this.
Yeah. And of course, Neil, it's all the families of the people who've been killed in this accident that he will also know. The what ifs of the, if only, it's very sad, it is a very sad situation.
Neil, thanks for your time. Thanks for your analysis and your prediction on all of that. As you say, the important thing, the two people killed in the accident, Sina Gami and Kevin Latif Ayodele as well. We'll leave it there, my friend. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. The time now coming up to 18 minutes past 8. Let's get your weather now, and we're going to get all the details about what's going on up and down the country.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, this is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. For many, it's going to be a fine day. Lots of dry, sunny weather around. Just a few showers pushing into some eastern parts. Otherwise, like I said, yes, it is going to stay mostly dry. We have had a cold front pushing through overnight, and that's actually helped clear away some of the clouds. So for many, it is going to be brighter. It's going to be sunnier than it was yesterday. But with that colder air that's coming behind that cold front, temperatures are going to be slightly lower, so a little bit below average for the time of year, generally peaking low single figures in the north, mid single figures towards the south. A bit of a breeze, particularly towards the east. That's going to add to the chilly feel to things. Now, as we go through towards this evening, there could be a few spots of showery rain affecting parts of Orkney and more so Shetland. Otherwise, across the rest of Scotland, it's looking dry. There'll be some clear skies as we go into the start of the night for most places here, and similar across parts of Northern Ireland. As a result, we're quickly going to see a bit of frost developing. Meanwhile, across much of England and Wales, a bit of cloud here and there, still a few showers towards some eastern coastal parts. Most places, though, ending the day on the same dry note that we'll have had through much of the day. Overnight, with a lot of dry, calm, clear weather, we are going to see temperatures plummeting. A fairly widespread frost across most parts, perhaps towards the east-southeast of England, a bit more cloud, maybe some fog here, so less frosty, but for most places, it is going to be a chilly, frosty start to the day on New Year's Eve. Then through New Year's Eve itself, well, again, lots of fine sunny weather around, and it stays fine across southern parts through much of the day and into the evening. Further north, a slightly different story. There will be some showery rain feeding its way further southwards, and this could turn a bit wintry, some sleet or snow likely over higher ground, and more wet and at times windy weather to come as we go into New Year's Day across northern parts of Scotland.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, look, up next we're going to be talking about the New Year's honours list, which is particularly star-studded, and I think that's a political input to sort of lift people's mood and whatever at this time of the year. And there's some people I'm delighted to see there, like Gabby Logan, who I think is just such a fine presenter. She's got an award, but lots of people have. It's star-studded, as I said, and we're going to speak to someone who has been honoured, and we both agree, rightly so, right, okay?
We do.
He's a school teacher, and we're going to, we know him well, and we're big supporters. We're going to talk about him right after this.
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Yeah, so when I was 5 years old, one of my family members, friends, was looking after me one day, like babysitting me. And then on that day, it was a well-trusted friend of our family, was babysitting me and took me upstairs, and he raped and abused me. So from then on, I've suffered and suffered. One of the things that he did say to me was that he would kill me or hurt me in my sleep. So ever since then, I've always suffered with PTSD, night terrors. It never goes away.
It took 20 years for you to face it.
20 years, yeah, to ever come out about what had ever happened to me. My parents didn't know. I didn't tell them anything.
Because a lot of men in your position, a lot of boys in position, they'd rather just take the burden of shame on that comes at a great, can come at a great cost.
Yeah, lots of friends and family. And I was just scared to tell them, you know, because obviously as well, if I did ever say anything about it, he was going to come and get me. So I managed to find an organisation which is charity run called Arch Teesside, which is near where I live. And I went to go see them. And my therapy at the time, the guy was called Dave Taylor. And he was a big guy, full of tattoos, and you know, when you see somebody, you think, how am I going to open up to somebody of this man, you know? And I hit it off, like, straight away. And I've always told him, this is what I love doing. I love going to the gym. I want to step on stage by the time I'm 40. And then that's what I went and did.
And look at you then.
I mean, what modelling shots, yeah.
You said in your book there, hold your book up, people want to get a copy of this book. Tell them what it's called, mate.
Buy the book.
What's the book called, mate? Tell them.
It's called Breaking the Silence, A Champion's Journey.
And this is it. And your message that you say, if you help one other person out there to channel their pain into purpose, mission accomplished, mate.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Look, the King's New Year's Honours has just been released, and quite a lot of people on it.
Lots of people on it. Of course, the main person on the front pages of pretty much all the papers is Idris Elba, knighted, given an award for charity work.
But you know what? Not one mention of the man we're about to speak to.
No.
And he served his community, and he's done lots of things as well. I'm not saying that those people aren't worthy, but this man, personal favourite of us, as you know, Bobby Seagull, who we talked to as he is a maths teacher. And I thought, Bobby, you would have got this in recognition for what you've done in promoting mathematics to the general public. But no, not the case.
Yeah, for my work in libraries, firstly I want to say, Eamonn and Penny, it's an honour to speak to you because, again, part of my story is that growing up in the 90s, I used to visit the library every single Saturday with my dad and my brothers. And actually on Fridays, we'd watch you on the telly, both of you, in the 90s. So you would set me up. I'm like, if I see you on a Friday, I'm like, OK, parents, we need to go to the library. So thank you. It's such an honour to speak to you both.
Good lad.
Anyway, so services to public libraries.
Yeah.
So when you look through, you've looked
So this
through
is for services
today.
To libraries. Is that what we're talking about
libraries,
particularly?
not to maths.
Right.
Yeah. That's correct. So can I tell you the story about how I got the letter? So I got the letter, and it says, you can see here, on His Majesty's service. And at first I thought, am I being recruited as a spy? I'm like far too noisy for that. Then I thought, oh, could it be jury duty? Well, that could be interesting. And I opened it up, and it said, Bobby Seagull, New Year's Honours, MB for Service to Public Libraries. And immediately I thought, yes, I remember my library card, and a massive thank you to the libraries and the librarians, because as I mentioned, Eamonn and Penny, in the 90s, my family had this lovely routine. So my parents came from Kerala in South India to London, East London, which is why I'm a happy hammer, or unhappy hammer at the moment. And we had a routine every Saturday. My mum would make a really delicious biryani lunch. Thank you, Mum. And then me and my brothers would trudge down East Ham High Street, ostensibly to do some shopping. But my dad would take us to East Ham Library. We'd sit cross-legged, which I can't do now. I need to do some yoga. We'd sit there reading all sorts of books on the fiction of Tolkien, the Aztecs, Victorian engineering, the marvels there. And actually, it was the week after week, month after month, year after year, that gave me the knowledge and skills to be the person I am today. In fact, like, my first media break was back in 2017 on University Challenge. And when I had my interviews and my TV shows after that, I'd always say, yes, I am a knowledgeable person. I tell my students, but I wasn't born that way. I became knowledgeable and clever by reading, by going to the library, being inspired by good teachers. So again, maybe in another lifetime I might have got it for my service to maths education, but I'm really happy because I think libraries and books and reading and knowledge are so important to our communities.
Hold on a second, Bobby. So we're saying, when we say services to public libraries, you mean, or they mean, for constantly being in the public library and cluttering it up by sitting cross-legged and reading all the books?
Partly that. I mean, I am part of 4 book clubs. I read lots of books here. But it's also my campaigning. So after being on University Challenge, getting my own road trip show, there are a lot of interviews. And in interviews, I always say, actually, it's libraries that made me the person who I am. Yeah. And then since then, there's a public body called CILIP, who are the professional body for librarians. They made me their UK Libraries champion after the likes of Dame Mary Beard and Sir Stephen Fry. And then the Reading Agency made me their charity ambassador.
Bobby, let me ask you something. Yours is an amazing story, and great that you were inspired by libraries. But Penny and I were talking during the break as to I mean, she's a good, or has been in the past, a really good library user.
Loved a library.
I have my own memories of it, how I came from a very crammed house. There were 5 boys there, 2.5 bedrooms, and the library was somewhere you could escape to. But it doesn't feature in my life anymore, and I want to ask you now, whose life does libraries feature in anymore?
It's a really excellent question, Eamonn. And again, sometimes when I've done lobbying work with politicians and councillors, I'll tell them these stories. I still go most weeks to my library. Apologies to my librarians. Slightly sweaty after gym. It's quite functional to do that. But I'll turn up and I'll see there'll be times where there's Zumba classes, seated Zumba classes for the elderly. There are parents with young children with the toddler groups. There are teenagers, actually, in study clubs over there. There are chess clubs, coding groups. Even like I've seen like a salsa class. I don't take part. My dancing skills are not great, but I see this. Obviously, books and libraries are the main reason, I think, for libraries. But they're like, I think they're beating hearts of our communities, because we know the high streets are being eviscerated, they're being changed, they're being transformed, but libraries really are a place where we see all types of people, all classes there in a free space. And I think that's really valuable.
Can we afford them? Because, I mean, those politicians and whatever who you're speaking to, and we talk about local council budgets and that sort of thing, they will say, look, we just don't have the money. Can we afford to let them go?
Yeah, again, and what I would say is it's really short-sighted, because libraries, I think, are actually monetarily efficient way of supporting communities. Because one, you've got this point of access where if you need to spread information, share knowledge, organize community groups, you've got this immediate place of access that's free. But also, if you think about the mental health benefits of people going and seeing others, talking to others, again, libraries are warm spaces for people that perhaps maybe heating costs might be difficult at home, books for kids. So I think it's a cost-efficient way of reaching out to community.
I tell you what I'm thinking is, hold on a second, talking in a library. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was sitting also cross-legged in the library, if I even mentioned to my sister that this was a really good book, somebody, yes, exactly, would creep round the corner and say, shh, quiet please, and then point to about 75,000
There are quiet sections of the library now where you would still be told to be quiet, but the main part, you can have sensible conversations, but there are still quiet parts for you, Penny, if you wanted to go and read in silence.
Oh, well, we never have had you in silence before, and we hope you're not in silence ever in the future while you promote libraries. Bobby, you know how much we admire you. You're a credit in so many parts of the world. Enjoy your MBE.
OBE?
No? MBE.
MBE, yeah.
MBE. Sorry, I don't know why.
That's okay.
It's just because you don't have...
Mr. Bobby.
Honestly, how many times do I have to... I could be relieved to get the new year over.
Just want to say, Bobby, congratulations.
Yes, welcome.
And continue your good work in the community. And I hope one day it leads to a knighthood. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
God bless. God bless.
Yeah. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
It'd be very nice.
Yeah.
You know why people say, if you got knighted, Eamonn, would you just stay the same and whatever it is? No. No, I wouldn't.
You would insist
I would
at
insist.
all times.
Well, there's no point me being Sir Eamonn and not having you and the likes of
saluting you at all times.
Genuflecting.
Genuflecting on the knee. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Saying, what could I get for you, Sir Eamonn? Yeah,
I'll stay the same.
And then you'll just wave gently at me as I sort of go past. Yeah. Time for the... It is time. What time is it? 8:31. It is time for the
Or you could win the Great British Giveaway.
Oh, yes, you could.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, well,
either or.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, 85 grand could be yours.
We want to make the new year your best year yet, with a chance to win our greatest cash prize to date. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to splash on anything you can dream of. Treat the family to that bucket list holiday you've always fancied. Get your dream car you've always wanted. Or just relax, safe in the knowledge that the coming year is on us. £85,000 is the biggest cash prize we've ever given away. It's totally tax-free, which means that every single penny of it will be yours. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
No, youngsters and their work ethic. You see, you could be saying kids aren't the same as in my day, your day, whatever it is. And I think there's a fair point to this. I mean, I would say to you, kids say, oh, we don't, there's no incentive, we don't earn money, we don't do this. Listen, none of us earned money, but there was still grass to cut, there were cars to clean, there were milk bottles to deliver.
I think it's actually about sort of working when you're actually in the work environment, actually properly at work. So we are going to be debating whether young men in particular have lost their work ethic.
Yes. They have the oomph.
Indeed.
Do it.
We'll be looking at oomph later, but first, here is your traffic and travel update.
How's the road oomph-ing?
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A83 at Loughnell Street, Loch Gilphead, is constrained due to emergency roadworks. On the A11 southbound between the A134 Thetford West and the A1101, a traffic collision has closed one lane. Additionally, congestion on the A30 eastbound between the M25 and the A308 in Surrey may cause delays. North Tyneside's A19 southbound is experiencing heavy traffic between the A1 and the A1068. And on the trains, anticipate delays due to major engineering work between Milton Keynes Central and Northampton and in the Cambridge area. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Young men, we're talking about young men who don't have it easy, who don't have a good reputation these days. And now we're going to talk about, are they just easygoing? Are they too easygoing and they've lost a drive to work?
Yeah, there's a former US Commerce Secretary who says younger generations have been coddled, expect an easy lifestyle and don't feel the need to graft like those before them. So
this morning we are asking, has the work ethic really vanished, or is it unfair on today's young people? Let's find out from Ben Cope, first of all, before we come to Charlie Mullins, friend of the programme there, and businessman. Ben, what do you think?
I think there may be some case that younger people are sort of not driving, not working quite as hard as they might have done in the past. But I think rather than sort of blaming younger generations, for being for taking it easy, in some sense, we need to look at why this might be happening, why inactivity rates in employment are rising, for example, among younger generations. And I think the simple fact is it's that the incentives are no longer there for a lot of young people. So when you have wages that simply aren't keeping up with inflation, you've got tax rates through the roof, housing costs very, very high, it just doesn't make sense to work for many people anymore.
You see, Ben, I'm fascinated listening to what you're saying, Charlie, and I'm sure you will be too, because we're from a generation that would just be too frightened not to give it your all at work because you'd lose your job.
That's right. Well, I mean, the thing the chap left out here is that a lot of youngsters are being given money for doing nothing, and that's probably the biggest problem we have at the moment. Also, they're not motivated by their parents, staying at home or working from home, doing 4-day a week. There's no encouragement. There's no ambition no more from people in the UK, which is a lot to do with many governments. But I feel the work ethics come from your parents, and if your parents had good work ethics, you'll have good work ethics. And, last night I met some people that are working out in Dubai, youngsters, Mitchell Carlin, and he's into a estate agent. He's 18 years of age. He's got all the drive and ambition because he's being encouraged by his parents. He's being encouraged by Dubai, the authorities in Dubai. We just need to invest more money into youngsters and give them a future and let them know that, at the end of it, there's a great sort of thing that can be had. Not that you can't buy an house no more. Let's start thinking you can buy an house. Let's start giving people encouragement.
Okay, what they can do as opposed to what they can't. Now, we've got Eamonn and Chloe in the studio, and they're going to be reviewing the papers very shortly. But your views on young people, Eamonn, have they lost their spark? What motivates them? How do they hold on to a job? Have they given up in the workplace? Are they a different generation from your generation or my generation?
I think on the contrary, I think the next generation is very enterprising. It is very entrepreneurial, and I think they want an opportunity to work. They want a country that gives them the safety and security to be able to do that. Having said that, though, there are more than 1 million young people that are not in education or training or enterprise, and that's a serious concern.
Yeah.
Chloe?
You're a lot more optimistic than me. I'm quite worried for the young generation. I think they've all fried their attention spans with TikTok, and so they can't concentrate on a task for very long. And a lot of them are mollycoddled. They're not told by their parents, nope, you've got to go out and do a paper round, go out and get a job at the corner shop.
You see, I would say, Ben, that also part of the problem is the fact that if you're young nowadays and you look at the people who are making money, quite a lot of them are doing jobs that people like me and Eamonn probably don't even really quite understand. How do you make money with TikTok? How do you make millions on Instagram and everything else? And the point is, you might be working really hard on it, but the rest of us wouldn't see it as being hard work, perhaps.
The elements of that, I'd just like to pick up on the point that Charlie made, actually, sort of seeing a lot of hard-working, enterprising young people out in Dubai, because I think that's a really interesting point here, that, you know, last year we saw almost 200,000 young people, so between 18 and 35, leave the UK. So hard-working young people looking for a better life to make a future for themselves. And I think this gets to the heart of the issue, in that for sort of hard-working young Brits, they're either sort of, for a lot of people, they don't see there being a future here in the UK, and they're now looking abroad. So I think we need to look at why that's happening, why the incentive structures aren't working anymore. You know, the point Charlie made about sort of various forms of benefits that young people can access is another valid one. But I think looking at stagnating wages is very true.
Yeah, I'd like to ask both of you, just quick from you, Ben, and then on to Charlie. My big fear for young people, for all of us, is this artificial intelligence. I think it'll come into the workplace and it'll do away with everything for people. What do you think, Ben?
I think that there will be a massive sort of restructuring over the next sort of few years. I think we're already seeing it, you know, with a lot of the big consultancies, for example. So we've got Accenture and McKinsey starting to already make a lot of redundancies, and we need to look at policies to retrain those in affected sectors. But we also need to think about tax structures that encourage work by humans.
I agree. We've already touched on tax structure. I just want to give the final word to Charlie, because my thing here as well is that we've gone hell for leather for university degrees, and actually we should have perhaps been going hell for leather for trades, because they are the things that AI is probably not going to take over.
Of course, I mean, there's going to be a way around the AI. And again, I have to say, you know, Dubai are catering for that now. They're bringing people more into hospitality, more into tourism, more into retail. They're actually investing money. And the weakness we have in the UK is the government are not prepared to invest in youngsters and give them a future, give them an opportunity. But let's not kid anybody. A lot of lazy people are out there. But a lot of youngsters are good, but there's some lazy so-and-so's out there.
Charlie, thank you very
you'll
much.
never be short of a job, but you can always be a comedian as well. Very good, my friend. Thank you very much indeed. Ben Cope, thank you very much indeed. Very, very interesting listening to both of them about that.
Yeah. Still to come, the Unite leader says Keir Starmer's replacement is inevitable. We're going to be talking more to Eamonn and Chloe, our panellists, about the newspapers shortly.
After this.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst there's plenty of dry and bright weather across the UK at the moment, it's a different story around southern Europe. There's some rain sweeping its way towards Madeira and towards the Canary Islands through the next couple of days. It's wet across southern parts of Spain and northern Morocco. Some thundery rain likely again as we go through later this week. And further east, also some outbreaks of rain affecting parts of Greece and towards Cyprus. And some of these could be heavy and thundery at times. More changeable weather to come as we head into the new year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
I think it's just good, honest, humble food. And yeah, as people get away from the ultra-processed stuff and get back to their roots, and what's better than a good jacket potato?
Do you know what? Sales of jacket spuds have gone through the roof. The big potatoes at Waitrose. There's been a 178% increase in people looking at recipes. And I just think it's wholesome, it's affordable, it's comfortable, you know, it makes you feel good, it's back to basics. That, I think, at the moment, sums up the nation.
I think very much it being affordable as well, with the climate we're living in at the moment. it definitely helps knowing, you're putting food on the table for a reasonable price, and people appreciate that. And it's good, honest food. You can feed your kids, and kids are seeing it on social media, and they're getting excited about it as well. So they're not like, obviously everyone sees all the big brands, and now there's all these, jacket potato people out there, and we're giving them something that's healthy, and they want to eat it. And I think the parents appreciate that.
And Ben, I've seen your videos. They queue around the block to get to you. If people are in the mood to cook a potato tonight, of course, we don't want to affect your sales. What is your sort of top of the pops spud recipe? Give it to us.
Oh, it's all about variety. It's picking the right potato is really important. Get a nice melody or a cara or culture or something like that. Nice and big. In the oven, if you can. Hour and 20. Get a nice crispy skin on there. Loads of butter, loads of cheese, and a nice curry on top or something. That's my go-to.
Ooh. Now that was a final little curveball there you threw at the last minute there, Ben.
GB News, the People's Channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
The man and Chloe for the stories that have caught their eyes. And Chloe, the Times is reporting that people spent more on treats, affordable treats, and less on essentials.
Yes, so people's overall spending has gone down slightly in 2025, and people have cut back quite a bit on essentials, 2.35%, but they're spending on non-essential items, things like beauty, travel, lipstick, sweet treats, has gone up by 0.8%. Now, I'm not sure if people are actually buying bigger quantities of this, given the prices are, of course, going up, but it shows where people's priorities are, and I think it's quite... I'm totally guilty of this. I'll treat myself to not something huge, but a nice coffee out, a nice sweet treat in the cafe,
well, I tell you what I'm going to get rid of,
or something.
And I'll ask you to think about this, but I've looked through and I think, why am I paying for all these TV channels? And it's usually football to do with it, but absolutely ridiculous. People complain about the BBC licence, which is 170 quid or whatever it is. But you look at all your Netflix, your Paramount, your Apple TVs, your, oh my, it goes on, and suddenly we find ourselves, just to watch one series, we're paying $8.99 a month or whatever it happens to be. But it all adds up. So I'm going to file that down. I'm going to get those down.
Right.
Anything, a man that's caught your eye that you're going to get rid of?
Oh, well, I had this subscription to a rowing machine called Hydro to shed some pounds, and it turns out that it was about £50 a month.
Wow, yeah, that's the thing. These subscriptions, they catch.
And if you use them, it's fine. But I think so many of us have so many subscriptions we've forgotten about.
That you can actually use the machine on its own without the subscription, and you can just watch the rowing video on your TV in front of it. So why not?
There you go.
This is the thing.
Why not?
Easy way to save money.
What about you? What would you save money on?
Oh, I've cut back on all. I've cancelled Netflix and all of those because I'll watch something like once a year or so, and it's just not worth it. And it's
not enough time in the day.
And when you add up not just the monthly fee, but then times it by 12 and figure out how much you're paying in a year, it's crazy.
I don't know. At the moment, I'm still... No, I would never cut books or anything else. No, I mean, the problem is that all the things that I probably should cut, I'm afraid I'm going to carry on. I like going to the theatre. I like going to the opera.
We'll just work harder.
I'm just going to work harder.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Do more work. You're going to see me around here a lot more. You don't know. I don't know whether I will or not. And let's talk about the story in the Times, which is about Starmer's demise, Keir Starmer's demise as Labour leader inevitable, says Unite leader.
Yes, so this is the Unite leader, the union. When the union starts talking against a Labour Prime Minister, you know a Labour Party is in trouble. And that's the bottom line here is that, look, this is the most unpopular Prime Minister, in history. He's the most anti-national Prime Minister, I would argue. And at the last election, he sold a pup to the British public with all the, claims that he made. But now what you've got is you've got West Streeting, you've got Andy Burnham, you've got Ed Miliband, all lining up, all queuing up to take his job, and it just shows what a chaos that exists within the Labour Party.
Except we also know that they're not terribly good at necessarily picking leaders that the general population would like to see.
Indeed.
So that's an issue there. I do want to talk about Cluedo before we go, Chloe, because this is the inventor of Cluedo. I don't know about you. I always quite liked Miss Peacock. I always quite liked being Peacock.
I never played a game of Cluedo in my life, but I admired it. Yeah, I've looked at it and thought, that looks cosy, that looks welcoming, that looks something like I should play. But I never... Waddington also had a game called Formula One, which had dashboards and dice and speeds. It was all good. It was good, you know, so that was more me.
OK, but Cluedo, you have a story about Cluedo.
Yes, so we've got so many amazing inventions that have come out of this country, and Cluedo is one of them. And it's always lovely to hear the stories of how they were invented. And it was Anthony Pratt, his daughter's been telling the story now, as he's sadly no longer with us, when he was bored during the blackouts of the Second World War. This is the game he came up with, and then his family helped him create the boards and helped them put it together. But unluckily for him, he didn't realise how successful he was going to be, and he sold all the rights to the game for $5,000 back in the day. Imagine how rich he would have been if he'd stuck with it.
No.
And tribute to companies like Waddington, who were board game makers, the amount of games they're responsible for at a time in our lives that will define our lives, our teenage years, our adult years. I mean, these games stay with you into adulthood.
And people nowadays still play board games.
Yes,
you know, you have so many other things you could be doing. I don't know, you know, doing a TikTok dance routine over your Christmas lunch or whatever.
With the family, when all the kids are so addicted to their phones, to get them to put the phones away and just focus on a fun board game with the family.
Indeed, and that's...
10 seconds a man.
Look, this is a great British story, and it's great that it came out of Birmingham and it's now gone back to Birmingham.
Nice, lovely.
Thanks, guys, and if we don't see you, Happy New Year to you both, and compliments of the season. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah. Time for an update on your weather now. Alex Burkill.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, this is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. For many, it's going to be a fine day. Lots of dry, sunny weather around. Just a few showers pushing into some eastern parts. Otherwise, like I said, yes, it is going to stay mostly dry. We have had a cold front pushing through overnight, and that's actually helped clear away some of the clouds. So for many, it is going to be brighter. It's going to be sunnier than it was yesterday. But with that colder air that's coming behind that cold front, temperatures are going to be slightly lower, so a little bit below average for the time of year, generally peaking low single figures in the north, mid single figures towards the south. A bit of a breeze, particularly towards the east. That's going to add to the chilly feel to things. Now, as we go through towards this evening, there could be a few spots of showery rain affecting parts of Orkney and more so Shetland. Otherwise, across the rest of Scotland, it's looking dry. There'll be some clear skies as we go into the start of the night for most places here, and similar across parts of Northern Ireland. As a result, we're quickly going to see a bit of frost developing. Meanwhile, across much of England and Wales, a bit of cloud here and there, still a few showers towards some eastern coastal parts. Most places, though, ending the day on the same dry note that we'll have had through much of the day. Overnight, with a lot of dry, calm, clear weather, we are going to see temperatures plummeting. A fairly widespread frost across most parts, perhaps towards the east-southeast of England, a bit more cloud, maybe some fog here, so less frosty, but for most places, it is going to be a chilly, frosty start to the day on New Year's Eve. Then through New Year's Eve itself, well, again, lots of fine sunny weather around, and it stays fine across southern parts through much of the day and into the evening. Further north, a slightly different story. There will be some showery rain feeding its way further southwards, and this could turn a bit wintry, some sleet or snow likely over higher ground, and more wet and at times windy weather to come as we go into New Year's Day across northern parts of Scotland.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you to our global community for watching and listening to GB News. We're not only the #1 news channel in Britain, we're chosen by you around the world.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. A collision on M62 eastbound exit slip at junction 22 has closed one lane. Normal conditions are expected late this morning between 10:15 and 10:30. Please drive carefully and expect delays. Additionally, 3 lanes are restricted on the westbound carriageway of M62. Plan your journey accordingly. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast has major engineering work between Milton Keynes Central and Northampton, as well as Rugby. Similarly, cross-country faces significant engineering challenges in the Cambridge area. Travellers should check before heading out and expect disruptions. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date. £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with each month for a whole year. That could be you, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hello there, good morning to you. The Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has launched an urgent review into what she calls serious information failures over Allah Abdel Fattah.
Now, she says that neither she nor the Prime Minister were told about his historic tweets, comments that they now describe as abhorrent.
Well, despite that, Downing Street says he's still welcome in Britain, triggering a furious backlash.
And all this as El Fattah apologises, whilst his Facebook account likes a post suggesting that he's the target of a Zionist campaign.
British heavyweight boxer Anthony Joshua, badly injured in a car crash in Nigeria, which killed 2 members of his team. We're going to bring you the very latest on this throughout the morning. Frank Warren, the boxing manager and promoter, very shortly.
Cabinet Office has been accused of covering up for the royal family after it emerged that official papers, which refer to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, have been withheld from the National Archives.
The good things are happening in the Middle East. We have peace in the Middle East, and we're going to try and keep it that way. I think we will be very successful.
Well, what else have we got? President Trump says that Gaza reconstruction will begin very soon after talks with the Israeli Prime Minister, but refused to clarify if Israel would actually withdraw from the Strip as part of the required steps in the peace plan.
And New Year's Honours List, actor Idris Elba, Ice dancers Jane Torville and Christopher Dean. England women's football and rugby teams are amongst more than 1,000 people recognised in that list.
It's a crisp but largely fine day for many of us today. Will the dry weather last until the end of the year? Well, stick around and find out.
Hello there, very good morning to you on this Tuesday morning. Yes, I think I'm right with that. It's all a bit confusing at times. Hello to you, I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Penny Smith and this is GB News Breakfast.
Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Penny Smith's mummy is called Chrissy Smith. Happy birthday to you. And the reason we want to really mention this about this very, very special woman is that she has got to an age, Penny, that many people don't reach, and that age is
90. Look at Mum there. That's Mum, me, and her great-grandchild, Etta, that is.
And what will Mummy be doing to mark 90?
Well, there's a party. And then next year she's going to do a wing walk to raise money for old people.
That's incredible.
I know.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
A wing walk. That's just as unbelievable. I think when my mum turned 90, I held a party for her in my house, right? And it was ridiculous. It was like she didn't want it. I don't want anything. I don't want this. And she complained about it. And I invited a lot of people, cousins and aunties and uncles, all that sort of thing. And she turned up at it. And she had the most marvellous time. She had an absolutely marvellous time. And the great thing for me is, Penny, and this for you to remember, I have pictures. She died 2 years later, and I have got pictures which I'll remember for the rest of my life of various people who were there.
Well, we have a very active family WhatsApp group, and I'm sure there will be hundreds of pictures from Mum's birthday.
3 minutes past 9 o'clock, the Home Secretary has launched an urgent review into what she calls serious information failures in the Alaa Abdel Fattah case.
Yes, Yvette Cooper says neither she nor the Prime Minister were told about historic online posts. Comments now described by the government as abhorrent.
That's despite Downing Street saying just yesterday that it welcomed the return of Mr El Fattah, who it said had been unfairly detained.
Last night, the controversial activist pushed back, claiming that he is the victim of a so-called Zionist campaign after his verified Facebook account appeared to like a post making that very allegation.
Let's go to our chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster, on this, and she's going to tell us, give us her opinion as to where we're standing with all of this. Catherine, there's a lot of not very good reaction towards Mr El Fattah.
Yes, exactly, because it turns out that although the Prime Minister and others said that they were delighted that he was coming to Britain, having been in an Egyptian jail for many years for various criticisms of the government, all these dozens and dozens of incredibly offensive tweets have emerged, and the government have now moved from initially saying they were delighted to yesterday saying that they welcomed him being here as a British citizen, but his views are abhorrent, to now the Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has launched a Foreign Office review into what she says was serious information failures. Well, you can say that again because we've had successive Labour ministers and Conservative ministers championing this guy, and yet when the news broke that he was here, it took journalists and others just an hour or two to find all these horrendous posts on social media. And just to add, in the last few minutes, Robert Jenrick, the Shadow Justice Secretary, has posted and he has commented about El Fattah's sister, Mona. Has said she's been fated by the likes of David Lammy, and says it turns out, like her brother, she has extremist views. They weren't hard to find. And then he screenshotted a whole load of tweets from El Fattah's sister, including one shortly after the October the 7th atrocities, when Hamas murdered, 1,200 innocent Israelis. And she's talked about that, the use of hang gliders as imaginative, and she's argued that they were justified in that attack.
Yeah.
She drew a moral equivalence with Ukraine defending itself against unprovoked Russian aggression. And all sorts of, again, very shocking, very anti-Jewish, anti-West comments. So, he's saying, I found these very quickly and easily. And so the whole point is, why did the civil service, why did nobody find these? They were publicly available and, in fact, known about.
Well, maybe they could find them. Maybe they just chose not to find them. That's the other question. Catherine, thank you very much indeed. So things not looking good for Mr El Fattah. What's your opinion? What's what should be done with him? Because that's the big question. It's all right saying turf him out of the country, strip him of his citizenship, but, you know, what would happen to him if he went back to Egypt, for instance?
Exactly. Thank you very much, by the way, for the comments you have sent in so far. The time is 7 minutes past 9. The British boxing star Anthony Joshua is in a stable condition after a serious car crash in Nigeria. 2 members of his team were killed in that crash.
Well, Anthony is a 2-time world heavyweight champion. He was travelling in the back of a Lexus vehicle when the SUV collided with a truck which was parked on a highway in Makun, and it killed the men we referred to there, Sinagami and Latif Ayodele.
Yes, Anthony Joshua is the son of British Nigerian parents. He suffered minor injuries and was taken to hospital for treatment.
I'm going to get the take now of boxing manager and promoter Frank Warren. Frank, good to see you. Just a tragic situation with these 2 lads who have lost their lives. And Anthony Joshua, they were all very close, weren't they?
They were. Good morning, Eamonn. Good morning, Penny. It was, I mean, it's dreadful news, a terrible tragedy. You know, he's lost 2 very close friends, and obviously everybody sends their condolences to their families for their tragic loss. And thankfully for AJ and the driver, they survived. And it looks like AJ's, you know, he has some injuries, but they're not severe injuries. So, you know, thank the Lord for that. And you know, it's just an awful tragedy.
The question is, Frank, now, what on earth happens next? What does he do? Does he continue fighting? How does he pick himself up?
I would think that's the last thing on his mind now, Eamonn. You know, he's lost his very close friends. Friends, I understand, were friends from, you know, since he was a kid. And, boxing, you know, takes a real seriously, you know, backseat in this. It means, you know, it means nothing in the context of anything. You know, the fact he's alive is a miracle considering what happened to the other 2 guys. And you know, if he does carry on boxing, that'll be decided, you know, over a period of time. But at the moment, I think they've got more serious things on their mind.
Yeah, because I was just thinking about when boxing as a sport, you know, it's a tight team you have, isn't it? I mean, you're talking about, you know, it's a close-knit team that you trust implicitly, and they're there for you through thick and thin.
That's absolutely right, Penny. And these guys have been with him for many, many years, you know, I think over 10, 12 years. And, you know, they're very close. They were on holiday together. And it is a tight team with him and the people he's got around him. And that's going to be, you know, even you know, harder thing to come to terms with for him. You know, it's just awful. It's just an awful situation for him.
Who do you think will be there for him, Frank? Who can he turn to? Who would be there to replace those lads? I mean, will the boxing community gather around him?
Yeah, I mean, you've seen from all the posts this morning, you know, everybody in boxing, whether they were. You know, from our perspective, he's on the other side. He's with a different team than us, you know. But when it comes to things like this, you pull together, and obviously you have sympathy, you know, for what's gone on. As for replacing anybody, again, you know, that's if he decides he's going to fight on. If he does fight on, then obviously that's something he'll have to consider. But as I say, at this moment in time, I shouldn't think he's even thinking about that.
Yeah. Just want to find out what sort of lad he is, Frank. I don't know if you've ever represented him in any way throughout his career or not, but how would you describe him from what you know? What sort of lad is he?
I don't know him that well. His last fight in the UK was on my show at Wembley when he fought Daniel Dubois, which he lost that fight. Since then, he's fought as well publicised Jake Paul. You know, everybody who knows him really well, they like him, and the British public certainly like him. They got behind him from day one. He won the Olympic gold medal for Britain in London, at the Olympic Games in London, and the nation got behind him and took to him and supported him and all the way. And he was good for British boxing. You know what he did for British boxing. I mean, at the time he was fighting on Sky, and it was extraordinary. You know, the crowds come out in force. He fought in stadiums regularly, and he was a torchbearer until he had his couple of defeats.
Well, look, Frank, sad things to talk about today. Really appreciate your take on things, and could I just wish you compliments of the season and a good new year, happier new year than what we've been talking about so far. Good seeing you.
And to you, and happy new year to you and all your viewers.
Thank you very much indeed, mate. Thank you. Frank Boren there.
Time is 12 minutes past 9. 12 minutes past 9. Now, the Cabinet Office is facing serious questions this morning after files about Prince Andrew, or formerly known as Prince Andrew, were released on the...
Now, what was in these documents? Apparently they detailed discussions over who should fund his trips abroad as a trade envoy, and these were readily available to journalists for days before being withdrawn quite suddenly.
Officials now claim the papers were released by administrative error and were never meant to be made public.
But critics says it looks like a royal cover-up, and they're demanding why these files actually vanished. They want to find out about that. CEO of Republic, Graham Smith, with his take on this. Oh, you're a bit in the dark, Graham, right? We need some light on your face there, but you can verify it's you. Yes, that's good. Oh, perfect, Graham, there we are. Let there be light. Absolutely great. Graham, can you shed any light on what we're talking about here?
Well, I mean, there's a wider issue in the sense that all of the royal family are exempted from freedom of information requests. Now, this is obviously highlighted this issue because they released some information and then suddenly scrabble around trying to say, no, you can't publish it. It's going to be kept secret. So normally, you know, if it's government ministers, and we've seen papers coming out under the 20-year rule as well this week, normally if it's government ministers, you can write to the government and say, OK, I want to know this, I want to see that letter. If you do that with the royals, they can simply say no. Now, we know that there are numerous accusations around Andrew and his conduct as trade envoy and other things he was allegedly doing whilst travelling at the taxpayer's expense in terms of pushing his own business interests. And those business interests have raised serious questions. And this is one of the reasons why Republic has engaged lawyers to investigate the possibility of a private prosecution of Andrew. And so it does raise questions as to why the government is still covering up this kind of information that for anybody else would be released.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at he was a trade envoy at the time and promoting British businesses abroad, as you said, nicknamed Air Miles Andy due to his extensive international travel. And this particular file is about minutes of a meeting, of the Royal Visits Committee meeting, discussing allocating an extra £90,000 for Andrew's many foreign trips. And they were originally due to be among the annual release today of these historic public documents, and then, as we've discovered, were allegedly not supposed to be released.
I mean, the question is why? I mean, why is this discussion so sensitive? We've had information about, the Blair government coming out under the 20-year rule. Why is a conversation about spending money on the royals deemed beyond the public interest and the beyond publication? And the reason is because the royal family generally insist on secrecy around everything, and this is why they lobby successfully to get an exemption from the Freedom of Information Act. Our most public of public institutions, if you write to the palace and say, I want to see your accounts, or I want to see, minutes or letters or whatever, they can simply ignore you. And with Andrew, of course, this is a royal exemption. Now, Andrew's no longer a royal. So we're going to have to find out whether they are still applying this exemption to Andrew, having had all his royal titles stripped from him, because there are serious accusations against him now, many of which are arising from these trips that they are funding. And this is the issue: is that whilst part of the accusation is he was being paid for by us to go and represent the UK, and he was using that to further his own private business interests to make money on the side.
Graham, thank you very much. Graham Smith, CEO of...
Interesting stuff. I suspect, Graham, will be talking to you in the future about all of this. It'll hardly go away. But for the moment, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, what is coming up in the rest of the show? Well, we're going to be talking about the New Year's Honours List.
And star-studded it is.
It is.
Back with that right after this.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
New Year's Honours List. That's what we're talking about now. Lots and lots of people getting gongs of some sort. Heading the list, you've got Idris Elba, got all sorts of other people, and I tell you who's going to tell us more about it is Will Godley, the GB News national reporter. There you go. OBE. No, not really.
Not quite yet, but a lot of people have 1,157 people on this list. Torval and Dean, huge number of people. That's all the people the King's going to have to shake their hands and do all of that during the next year or so. Torval and Dean, of course, got a knighthood and damehood. They said it's come at the perfect time of their career, marking the end of that this year. Also, other famous faces. You've got one half of the Chuckle Brothers pool, of course, the services to charity.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Particularly serving Marie Curie, the cancer charity, after his brother died of cancer as well. And actor Warwick Davis, who got an OBE for services to drama and charity, saying, "This is the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I've been in Star Wars." But outside of the famous faces as well, another person who's been recognised is Mervyn Kirsch, one of the oldest people to get a gong this year. He's a 101-year-old D-Day veteran, and he was reacting to the news a little bit earlier on.
It's disappointing. That's what's turned out now. I know we've had 80 years or 75 years. It has been worth it, certainly. I wouldn't be talking to you if it hadn't been. Yes, it is worth it, but it's very difficult. Disappointing is the anti-Semitism that I see everywhere, hear everywhere.
Well, Mervyn Kirsch there, 101-year-old D-Day veteran, recognised in the honours list, awarded a British Empire Medal for his talks he does in schools on Holocaust and recognising, remembering what happened during the war.
That's good. OK. Some fine names in there, and congratulations to them all. Thank you very much indeed. We'll be reporting all that throughout the programme station throughout the rest of the day. Charlie and Miriam up next. What have you got for us?
Good morning. We've got an interesting debate. What does it mean to be British? A poll published in The Guardian said that the number of people who say you have to be born here to be British has doubled.
Yeah, that's going to be a curious one to take on. I think a lot of people.
Well, at least I can't see what the problem is. I mean, it seems quite obvious to me that you have to be born there.
But I was born in Sweden, Eamonn. Do you think I'm not particularly British?
Well, do you think you're particularly British?
I really do. I serve in the British Army. I feel as British as I possibly could be. My passport says British, not Swedish. My parents are English.
You say so?
I couldn't feel more British than anyone else.
I think this is our poll today. Is Charlie Peters British? Yes or no? But we've got lots...
secret Swede.
Well, you've outed yourself now. All that coming up. Lots of debate to come, all after your weather.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, this is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. For many, it's going to be a fine day. Lots of dry, sunny weather around. Just a few showers pushing into some eastern parts. Otherwise, like I said, yes, it is going to stay mostly dry. We have had a cold front pushing through overnight, and that's actually helped clear away some of the clouds. So for many, it is going to be brighter. It's going to be sunnier than it was yesterday. But with that colder air that's come in behind that cold front, temperatures are going to be slightly lower, so a little bit below average for the time of year, generally peaking low single figures in the north, mid single figures towards the south. A bit of a breeze, particularly towards the east, that's going to add to the chilly feel to things. Now, as we go through towards this evening, there could be a few spots of showery rain affecting parts of Orkney and more so Shetland. Otherwise, across the rest of Scotland, it's looking dry. There'll be some clear skies